Aragi Kai is a normal high school student by day, but when night falls, he's a notorious assassin in the underworld, and any prey that falls into his sights cannot escape his merciless blade. The only problem is, because his work forces him to stay up all night and then go to school early, he's often a little tired. The moment he enters the classroom, he walks straight to his seat, puts his head down, and goes to sleep, not sparing a glance for anyone. Even when the enthusiastic class president, Midu Suji, greets him, Kai pays her no mind. It's because of this personality that many in the class find Kai annoying, including this pink-haired girl named Rina. She's a trendy girl, a standout among the girls in class, and she's always felt that Kai's attitude and the way he treats people is unacceptably rude. But no matter how high the mountain, there's always a higher one. In this class, there's a guy even ruder than Kai. His name is Sunsuke, the leader of a notorious local criminal gang. Everyone who sees him is terrified and tries to stay away. Sunsuke even has a few loyal lackeys. At that moment, Suzuka turns and sees Kai sleeping on his desk and is immediately irritated. Suzuka walks over and shouts, "Kai!" In response, he gets a soft snore. Being ignored like that makes Suzuki start to lose his temper. He reaches out to grab Kai and teach him a lesson, but Kai quickly stops him. Kai sits up, letting out a long yawn, then glares at Suzuki. "I'm sleepy. What do you want?" Seeing Kai's annoyingly cocky attitude makes Suzuki furious. He screams in Kai's face. Kai remains calm and applies a bit more pressure, squeezing Suzuki's hand so tightly he can't move. After a moment, Kai lets go. Angrily rubbing his hand, he curses Kai, calling him a damn weirdo. Just then, student number 8, Kanzaki Jin, speaks up. "Could you please keep it down?" Kanzaki is a beautiful flower of the class, skilled in both martial arts and literature. She's also one of the top beauties in the school, with a cold and distant charm. Hearing Kanzaki's words, Suzuka scowls in annoyance. He's about to go and start something with her, but is stopped by the strict disciplinary vice president, Mireille. Another student named Iosia, who looks rather shallow and vapid, offers a warning. "Mireille, just leave him be or you might get blown away." All in all, this was just another typical chaotic school day for Kai's class. But all of that was about to end. Just as Kai was drifting off to sleep, he suddenly felt a strange sensation. From under Midu's seat, a strange blue glow suddenly appeared. It was a magic circle. It gradually grew larger, enveloping the entire classroom. The strange phenomenon confused Midu, but she tried to remain calm and urged everyone to evacuate the classroom quickly. But with his keen eyes, Kai already knew it was too late. The magic circle emitted a blinding flash of light that spread everywhere. A moment later, Kai's entire class had been teleported to a strange, unfamiliar dimension. Even Kai had no idea where this place was. He observed his surroundings. It was a stone building with many large pillars for cover and only a single exit. Though it seemed illogical, Kai guessed the entire class had been pulled in here by that white light. The other students were now gradually waking up, all of them in a panic, frantically asking where they were. As the class president, Midu tried her best to calm everyone down. She had to make sure everyone was all right. Seeing this, Kai's expression showed a slight satisfaction. Midu really was an excellent class president. But Suzuki was another story. He refused to sit still, getting worked up and taking his underlings to check out the area. Seeing this, Kai spoke up to stop him. He could clearly hear footsteps on the other side of the door. Someone was approaching. 2 people in total, 1 man and 1 woman. Just as Kai predicted, when the door opened, an older knight and a beautiful woman appeared. "Very impressive, dear hero candidates." All the students were stunned by the sight, marveling at their beauty. They looked just like a knight and a princess from the Middle Ages. At this moment, Kai pressed himself behind a nearby pillar to observe the situation. The man was clearly a swordsman, already in a stance ready to attack. The woman, however, had less muscle and looked quite ordinary. The woman then introduced herself. Her name was Leonora, the Archbishop of the Holy Kingdom of Dagaris. Standing beside her was Gaios, her knight and personal guard. Hearing the introduction, Suzuki immediately shot back, "I've never heard of that country. Are you messing with us?" Leonora remained calm and replied that she was not. Midu stepped forward on behalf of the class, explaining that they had all suddenly appeared here. So they were a bit on edge, and she asked Leonora if she knew what was happening. Leonora smiled warmly. Not only did she know, but she knew everything in great detail, and she was here to explain it all. Kai's class had been summoned to a parallel world. to be humanity's hope in defeating the Demon Lord as this world's hero candidates. Midu still found it hard to believe. By now, Suzuka had lost his patience, claiming Leonora was just spouting nonsense. Seeing his insolent behavior, Gaius grew angry. He threatened him, but that only made Suzuka more agitated. Seeing how unreasonable Suzuki was, Gaius grew furious and took a stance intending to teach him a lesson, but he was quickly stopped by Leonora. While Gaius was held back, Suzuka was not. He flew into a rage, recklessly raising his fist and charging toward Gaius. Watching from the side, Kai had to admit, this guy was stubborn and brave, unhesitatingly confronting a man with a sword at his hip. In fact, with his brawling experience, Suzuki had fought armed opponents before. He figured as long as he dodged their attacks and got in close, fighting barehanded would still give him the advantage. But that experience was useless in this world. Before him stood a master swordsman with many years of experience. To him, a punk like Suzuki was nothing but a mosquito. Gaius only needed a single light swing of his sword to cut a strand of his hair and leave a cut on his forehead. This masterful skill left Suzuki stunned for a few seconds. He didn't even see the blade move. The other students in the class were also shocked by the scene. Seeing the situation, Leonora felt a headache coming on. She politely apologized for her knight's belligerence, and she assured them that they had no intention of harming anyone. Right now, she would explain everything about this world to them, as well as the reason why they were brought here. Therefore, first of all, everyone must remain silent. As Leonora said before, right now, due to the Demon Lord's invasion, the human race of this world is facing potential extinction. Their country, the holy nation of Dagaris, has been resisting continuously, but it's not enough. They are unable to completely stop the invasion. The only thing humanity has left, and its last hope, are the students here, the hero candidates. To put it bluntly, Leonora wants to rely on these high school kids. Defeat the Demon Lord. The students knew as soon as they heard it that it was impossible. Having never even been in a fight, they figured they couldn't do it even if they waited until the next life. And maybe not even then, not to mention fighting. Some of the more timid students in the class were already scared to death, crying and begging to go home. Seeing this, Gaius spoke with a stern face, saying that although it would be difficult, they had to try. Besides, they couldn't return to their own world now anyway, not unless the Demon Lord was defeated. Hearing this, everyone in the class turned pale. Kai, who was still hiding behind a pillar observing everything, put aside the validity of the information and just looked at the way Gaius was speaking. It was a lot like he was trying to motivate the students here. But even so, for people who had always lived peacefully like this class, it would be impossible to suddenly start killing people. To do anything, you need knowledge, experience, and above all, natural talent. Being randomly summoned here felt like they were being forced to be silent and obey, which made Suzuki extremely uncomfortable. His blood was boiling with rage, ready to erupt. Gaius glanced at the young man and could feel that his spirit was still intact after the earlier confrontation. He realized Suzuki could be a useful warrior, but also a troublemaker. Gaius considered drawing his sword and finishing Suzuki right then and there, but Leonora took a step forward, gently placed her hand on him, and chanted a healing spell. Immediately, the wound on Suzuki's forehead began to gradually heal. Leonora continued to speak in a soft, soothing voice, placating Suzuki as well as everyone else here. I know we have been rude. From the bottom of my heart, I am truly sorry. Reina was completely stunned watching this. This magical light was something she had never seen before in her life. Leonora cheerfully explained, this is a power known as a system in this world. We use the system, a power bestowed by the god Dagaris, to momentarily create new phenomena in the world. It also has another, more familiar name on Earth, magic. Hearing this, Kai realized that Leonora seemed to know a lot about human culture. Perhaps this wasn't the first time she had summoned people from another world. Just then, Leonora suddenly approached the class president, Midu. She said that he was the reason she had summoned the entire class here. Leonora gently placed her hand on Midu's forehead. Immediately, a strange, painful sensation washed over him. Then, Midu's hand suddenly began to glow, and from that light, a sword materialized. Leonora said that Midu could harness the power of this system and awaken his innate ability, his divine guard. Leonora had unexpectedly summoned the students of this class here, and so now, none of them could return. Knowing it was a selfish request, Leonora still begged them to stay here. Please help protect the holy nation. But Midu argued that no matter how much power they were given, the class couldn't possibly fight right away. Of course, Leonora understood this. So, she would arrange a training period for them, and naturally during that time, the nation of Dagaris would take full responsibility for their care. Hearing these terms, Midu agreed. He then turned to persuade his classmates. I know you're all scared, but to survive here, we first need information and protection. I'm sure the Divine Guards will be useful when we're in trouble. So, maybe for now we should listen to them, okay? After hearing him out, the class gradually agreed with their president. After that, Leonora went around and bestowed a unique Divine Guard upon each person. Mirei's Divine Guard was a remote-controlled pen. Suzuki's was a light that enveloped his hand called Explosion. Everyone received a Divine Guard with its own unique properties. Except for Kai. Because he'd been hiding for so long, he still hadn't received one. Seeing this, Leonora placed her hand on him. Suddenly, a powerful surge of red electricity erupted, and Kai's vision slowly began to change. When Kai opened his eyes, he saw a strange system panel appear before him. The content displayed on it was information about the Saintess, Leonora. Kai's eyes had also turned red. Leonora said, "This is the Divine Guard Appraisal, a rather rare type." Kai looked confused, so she explained further. "It's a power that allows you to see information about your target." After hearing that, Kai raised his hand to check. A system panel with all of his personal information and powers appeared. Now Kai understood how this Divine Guard worked. It was like a status screen in a game, but easier to understand. Suddenly, Suzuki rushed forward and slammed his fist into the ground as a show of force, making everything shake. Kai almost lost his footing. Suzuki's punch left a large crater in the ground. He looked at Kai with an arrogant and contemptuous expression. "What do you think of my explosion? And what did you get? Just a pair of red eyes?" After hearing Suzuki's mockery, the whole class burst out laughing, deriding Kai. Little Rina even thought that he deserved it, because of the way he acted, as if he was so important. Kai didn't understand why the class was suddenly acting so cocky and powerful. There wasn't any information, after all, to know which ability was useful and which wasn't. Besides, the Divine Guards were just powers borrowed from this world, so there was no telling when they might be taken away. But for someone with experience in killing people like Kai, that wasn't a problem. Just then, Leonora addressed the crowd. "I trust you have all received your Divine Guards, yes?" Leonora replied. "I know they might be difficult to control at first, but they will be your weapons to fight the Demon Lord." Then she smiled. "And with that, you must all be very tired. Please get some rest for today." Later that evening, the hero candidates were taken to their private rooms. Kai glanced around and thought to himself, "I should gather some information before I go to sleep." Outside, a few soldiers were on patrol. "Damn it. Why are we on patrol so late? We can't see a thing, and we still have to do this." "We don't have a choice. It's because of those hero candidates that were just summoned, right?" They mumbled, "Hero candidates, huh? They can protect themselves. If you ask me, they're just a bunch of kids. They don't even look like they can fight. And they're supposed to defeat the Demon Lord? Sounds ridiculous. The Saintess must know something we don't." At that moment, standing behind a large tree, he had heard their entire conversation. He glanced at them, thinking to himself, "This is the third time I've run into soldiers. From what I've heard, they're probably tightening security." He scanned them, pulling up their information. Name, Zin. Age, 31. Gender, male. Attack. E, defense. D, agility. F, stamina. E, magic power. F, status, normal. Skill, swordsmanship, level 1. He thought, his only skill is swordsmanship. I thought they'd be able to use magic or something and detect me, but I guess not everyone here can. Taking advantage of their inattention, he darted away in the opposite direction. As he ran, his cold eyes stared straight ahead, and he thought to himself, I've pretty much mapped out the geography around the castle. Right now, this is a fortified city, surrounded by a series of walls. Outside, 2 soldiers were on guard duty. They seemed to be getting a little sleepy. Hiding in the bushes from a distance, Kai watched them, thinking, I'm pretty curious about what's inside the castle, but it's heavily guarded and built to last. It'll be tough to sneak in. He slowly crept through the tall grass. No need to rush. This is enough for today. Suddenly, he spotted 3 girls standing in an empty clearing. This place is nice and spacious, isn't it? At that moment, Kari said nervously, Maybe we should stop. They're going to be mad at us. Yumi replied, What, are you scared? We're just going to practice our divine arts for a bit. What's the big deal? They'll only get mad at Hashimoto anyway. At that point, Rina spoke up. I couldn't sleep either. Besides, this is for our own good. After that, the three of them immediately began to channel their power, unleashing their own techniques. From a distance, Kai watched them intently, his gaze fixed on the flame in Rina's hand. Divine arts, huh? There's still a lot I'm curious about. I'll watch for a while. Suddenly, he noticed a strange sound. Kai whipped around, searching. What is this feeling? Over there, Kari also noticed something was wrong. Did you guys hear that strange sound? Immediately, they all looked in the direction of the sound. What do you think that was? Suddenly, a beast slowly emerged. Its massive size terrified them all. They screamed in fear. What is that? Over here, Kai was also a bit startled. I've never seen a creature like that before. It looks like a lizard. But he immediately activated his appraisal skill. That's not its name, but its species. No, that's not important right now. Species. Lizard. Age. 4. Gender. Male. Attack. B. Defense. C. Agility. B. Stamina. C. Mana. F. Status. Aggressive. Skills. None. The problem is its stats. They're on a completely different level from Naga's and the others. Just then the beast roared, a strange gas emitting from its mouth. Right after that, it shrieked and charged straight for the three girls. This sent them scattering in fear, but it kept chasing them relentlessly. The more they ran, the more excited it seemed to get. Kai, sitting by a rock, observed the situation. It's aggressive by nature and doesn't hesitate to attack humans. It's fast on 4 legs, but it only runs in a straight line. It seems to lack intelligence. He then took out a small knife. Its hide looks tough, so I'm not sure if this will work. But he threw the small knife at the beast. With a decisive motion, the knife plunged directly into its rough skin. Blood oozed out non-stop. Wounded, it stopped in its tracks. Kai observed, looks like throwing the knife worked, even though it was just a shallow cut. Meanwhile, the 3 girls were still running, their bodies beginning to show signs of exhaustion. However, in her haste, one of them tripped on a rock in the path. Reina fell hard. Reina-chan! Senba, no. She sat up, clutching her head, her voice weak. It hurts. Suddenly, she turned around and was utterly stunned. Ah! The beast had caught up to her. It stared right at her. Terrified, Rina screamed, no! But it was too late for her to run. It raised its paw to pounce on her. Rina threw her hands up to defend herself, screaming non-stop. After a long moment with no movement, she peeked open her eyes and saw the beast, stabbed to death by a knife. Rina was astonished, tears still welling in the corners of her eyes. Huh? Seeing the sight, she curled up in fear, not daring to move. Yumi ran over and helped her up. Rina, she asked in a daze, what happened? Did someone save me? Let's just go. I don't want to run into any more monsters. Kai sighed in relief as he finally left. I don't have a reason to save them, but just ignoring them goes against my conscience. He walked over and pulled his knife from the monster's body. So monsters like this exist, wandering all over this world. It looks like things aren't going to be easy here. Suddenly, he was startled by a realization. Instantly, Kai hid behind the beast's body. He scanned the distance, but saw nothing. His eyes narrowed, sharp and cold. He thought to himself, is someone there? I should head back too. Instantly, Kai used flash and sped off. Nearby, a mysterious figure stood watching him go. Then he stepped forward and crushed the demon beast's head. Blood splattered onto his cloak. Hero candidates. I was so disappointed to see how useless and weak they are. But he licked the blood that splattered on his face. That other guy, he smelled like me. The next morning, the demon beast's corpse was dragged into the academy courtyard. The students who saw it immediately backed away in fear. Gaios announced, this monster was found near the royal capital last night. Upon hearing that, Midu became pensive. Arashi, beside him, was just as surprised, his eyebrows furrowed. A girl standing nearby was also terrified, her eyes welling up. Monsters, Gaios added. The demon lord has driven them into a frenzy, and now they crave human flesh. These are the things you'll be fighting. Teddy, what have you found out? Teddy examined the wound and told him, these are traces of curse magic. It was probably a mid-level demon or higher. They might be scouting to gauge our strength. After hearing the rumors about the hero candidates, Meanwhile, Kai was peeking from behind a pillar, listening in. He thought to himself, curse magic, huh? A new term. Is it different from regular magic? Midu stepped forward and said, "Are you saying that this monster was being controlled by a demon or something?" Teddy replied, "Oh, you're a sharp one." "That's right. Powerful demons can use curses to manipulate and control weaker monsters," he explained. First, the term monster refers to a creature transformed by mana, until it becomes abnormally aggressive and powerful. And mana is a paranormal power created by the demon god. In other words, it's the power used by the demon lord and his demons. So naturally, demons can easily defeat humankind. Suddenly, Gaios cut him off. "That's enough! Stop!" This agitated Teddy, who yelled, "What?" before being unceremoniously dragged away. "I still have so much more to explain." Seeing this, Kai thought, is he some kind of researcher? I could probably use him to gather information. His eyes narrowed. But the bigger problem is, he then looked at this beast, whose eye had fallen out. This thing was being controlled by something else. He then activated his system. Condition. Controlled, he thought. The identity of the presence I sensed back then. It was a demon. He kept staring at the beast. It must be powerful since I barely even registered it for that moment. If it's around us right now... At that moment, the mysterious figure was still watching his every move. He let out a savage laugh. "Fear only brings death. You know that." But upon hearing that voice in his head, Kai steeled himself. "I'm not afraid." Just then, Arashi said to Gaios, "We can't return to our world unless we kill the demon lord. And I have no intention of staying in this goddamn world for long." Nearby, Jin agreed. "Yeah, for the first time, he's actually right." Midu also chimed in. All right. If we want to go back, I think fighting is our only option." However, a few of the girls were visibly terrified. "Fight? Those monsters? I'm so scared." Kai, watching from the side, thought, it looks like they're finally realizing it. This isn't some game. A fight is a struggle to the death. That's the same in any world. They'd better learn the weight of that truth and fast. As Leonora walked away, she mumbled to herself, "Come now, don't be so afraid. You all just don't know how to use your powers yet. All you have to do is train. Because you were chosen from another world as hero candidates, your growth rate is also different from the inhabitants of this world." And so, a week passed since the students began their training. Kai looked at a book, thinking to himself, I can already understand every letter. How strange, especially since we could all talk to each other from the very beginning. Suddenly, sounds from outside caught his attention. Outside, they were practicing swordsmanship. I was told that my appraisal skill isn't a divine protection suited for combat, so I don't get to train. But I do get to use the library. He suddenly recalled Leonora's words. "Why don't you go read some books?" Right after she said that, they all laughed at her. He placed his hands on the table and stood up. Is this really all there is on their history and culture? He thought. It seems there's no information about demons here either. Looking outside, he saw they were still training relentlessly. Kai leaned against the wall to observe. Just as Leonora said, the students are improving at an astonishing speed. The 5 strongest among them are Narumi, Arashi, Kanzaki, Hashimoto, and Nagas. However, there's one other person developing at a phenomenal rate. He saw a sword spin through the air before plunging straight into the ground. The instructor, stunned, said, "I yield. I can't believe you've already become stronger than me." Midu, clad in armor, looked strong, cool, and incredibly handsome. He smiled brightly. "It's all thanks to your guidance. Thank you very much." This left Kai completely astonished. He immediately scanned the person's information. Name, Midu Suji. Age, 17. Gender, male. Attack, A. Defense, B. Agility, A. Stamina, B. Mana, A. Status, normal. Skills, divine protection. Demon-slaying sword level 8, swordsmanship level 4. Just 1 week ago, most of his stats were between D and F. He couldn't help but feel a bit uneasy. That's frighteningly fast. Even for a genius with a god's divine protection, Beto. Does it also affect things not directly related to power? Just then, a group of people walked towards him, taunting him relentlessly. What's a guy who can't even fight doing on the training grounds? You should just stay quiet and read your books. Kai stared at them, thinking to himself, these guys are the same as ever. Seeing his jeering smile, he knew the others were looking down on him too. He felt a surge of irritation. They're getting more and more brazen. Even after getting his power, is he still going to mess with me? Ignoring me, huh? Come on, be a little friendlier. The moment he finished speaking, Kai tripped him. He flipped over and crashed to the ground. Kai provoked him. What's wrong, Muda? How'd you just fall like that? You okay? His friends ran over, worried. He screamed in pain. You bastard! Arasi spoke up. That's enough. He's coming. Over there. Gaios and Leonora were approaching. Seeing Leonora walk by, Kai couldn't help but stare at them. Everyone quickly returned to their training positions. Leonora smiled brightly. Thank you for your attention. She added, you are all developing very quickly, faster than I imagined. So I've decided to move the plan forward. Narumi then said, the plan? You're not going to tell us to go kill the Demon Lord right away, are you? Of course not. I'm not that cruel. She closed her eyes slightly. I want you all to practice fighting monsters. They were surprised. Monsters? The worry was clear on everyone's faces. A fight. Here. Kai's eyes were fixed, seemingly calculating something. At that moment, Gaio said to everyone, now, about the combat drill. As you can see, we are in the middle of a forest. His expression was extremely serious. This place is fraught with danger, so you cannot travel as one large group. Therefore, I am splitting you into teams of 2 to 3 people. On the side, Leonora was smiling, her face radiant. Reina said, 2 to 3 people, huh? Let's team up, Suji. Sure, can I join you guys? Over on this side, they were also talking. Arasi-san, we'll go with you. We'll eliminate any monsters that try to bother you. Do whatever you want. Why would I have to team up with someone like you? Come on, we'll be fine. A moment later, Gaios asked everyone, all right, have you all formed your teams? What about you two? He looked towards Kai and Jin. Jin said timidly, they probably don't want to team up with me. She thought to herself, maybe it's because they're scared. Then she turned to look at Kai. I guess that just leaves me to team up with you. Is that okay? Kai replied coldly. Yeah, whatever. Kazaki Jin, huh? She's confident and indifferent. Plus, she's proud and looks like she won't let anyone get in her way. Then Jin noticed someone staring at her. She spoke up. What? Why are you staring at me like that? It's nothing. Let's just do this. Then she turned and walked away with an uncaring expression. Leonora spoke up. Listen up, everyone. Since this is a special occasion, the team that eliminates the most monsters, I will receive a surprise gift. Good luck. And so, the combat drill began. In the forest, Jin strode ahead while Kai trailed behind. As she walked, Jin said, listen to me. My divine art is stronger than everyone else's, so I don't need you to do anything. Just stay out of my way. With a tired expression, he replied, fine by me. I'll leave it all to you. Jin glanced down slightly. Don't you have any pride? Meanwhile, he thought to himself, I'll just observe her combat abilities for now. Then he looked around. I can feel 4 presences around here. Then he sensed something. They're surrounding us. Suddenly, a goblin appeared from the bushes. Jin was surprised. This is a monster, isn't it? The goblin let out a growl and charged straight at the 2 of them. Jin channeled her power, unleashing a wave of energy forward. Get down, monster! The goblin was quickly enveloped by the aura. It was flattened to the ground. This made him see the girl in a new light. Watching her dominate the beast, he thought to himself, so that's her divine art. Domination. It's the ability to force a target to follow her commands. Kai looked around and then spoke. Looks like there are still a few monsters around here. Yeah, got it. Drop your weapon. Immediately following her command, the beast dropped the club in its hand. Put your hands behind your back. As if controlled by a wave of power, its hands moved behind its back. Just then, he asked her, what's wrong? You look tired. She replied, using my divine art for too long makes me tired. He thought, so it consumes a lot of mana. Then he walked towards the bushes. Just kill that one. Another one's coming, huh? Kill it. But doesn't this monster look a little human? She looked again at the monster, which was weeping and looked pitiful. Kai immediately answered, so what? You know that thing tried to attack us. These things are our enemies. There's no reason to spare them. Jin looked towards him. Yeah, I know. Just then, Kai picked up a stone. Despite her power, she was still just a naive student from a once peaceful Japan. He tossed the stone in his hand. The only thing that matters is, whether she'll make the right choice when faced with danger. Just then, 3 similar monsters appeared, letting out a growl. The monsters slowly advanced on where Kai was standing. He immediately said to Jin, "They're here! Over here!" She shouted back, "I know!" Then, she used her power to dominate them. "Lie down!" He then asked her, "So what's your plan now?" "Be quiet, and stop standing there like a statue. Help me! You're the one who said you didn't need me to do anything." At that moment, her face looked tired. I'll kill them. That's what I have to do, right?" Then Jin gave them an order. "Monsters, snap your own necks." The monsters could do nothing but snap their own necks. The others did the same. Blood gushed out endlessly. When it was over, she looked at them, horrified. Kai asked her, "So you can give that kind of order, huh?" She replied, "That's right, but the more difficult the order, the lower the chance of success." She covered her mouth. "A real fight. And seeing dead bodies with my own eyes like this? I was wrong to think this would be easy." Looking at the beasts' corpses on the ground, he said, "These things attacked us, so they're our enemies. It doesn't matter if they're monsters or humans, you have to kill your enemies." His eyes were cold. If you want to live, that's how it has to be. This made her wonder. How can you be so calm? You don't even have any powers." He picked up one of the beasts' corpses. "Don't worry about that. Keeping a cool head is my strong suit. Looks like there's nothing good to loot here." He turned and asked her, "So, what now? Are we going to keep going? Or we can head back if you're scared?" Jin stood there, looking at the corpses, momentarily unsure of what to do. She turned away abruptly. "Of course we're not turning back. Let's keep going." Watching her back as she walked away, he thought to himself, "She's just trying to act brave. But I have to admit her personality isn't half bad. We can fight." After going a bit deeper, he wondered how the others were doing. Meanwhile, the others were running non-stop. Narumi shouted as he ran, "Hey! Hey! Hey! What are we supposed to do? Why are you asking me? I thought the monsters here were supposed to be weak." Suddenly, they stopped short. "Damn it!" Then he launched an attack at them. "It's all or nothing. Wind, blow! Let's attack together! Stone, fly!" A whirlwind appeared, pushing a large boulder straight down onto the beast. However, it didn't even flinch. Its eyes still looked at them coldly. It tensed its body, then stomped its foot. This shocked them both. "This is bad. What's with that monster?" The beast slowly advanced toward the two of them. "I have to get back to my own world. I still haven't repaid Grandpa for raising me all this time. I really want to show him how much I've grown. And make him happy. I bet he's so sad right now." Jin thought this as her hand tightened its grip on her sleeve. Kai spoke up. "Are we going to keep going? What if we get lost?" She replied, "How can we get lost if we just go straight?" He muttered as he walked, "If that's what you think, then you're underestimating this forest." This made her furious. "Can you just shut up?" Then she shot him a glare. As Jin walked, she thought to herself, "He's so strangely conceited. What's wrong with this guy?" Just then he glanced over at Jin. Kai seemed flustered. "Why, you shouldn't stare at people like that." She pouted and walked faster. "It's nothing." Suddenly, a roar echoed from deep within the forest, surprising them both. Jin said, "Was that Hashimoto-san's voice just now?" Kai also glanced in the direction of the scream. "Looks like she's in trouble. What should we do?" Jin had already turned to go. "Obviously, we're going to help her. I hope she's okay." This made Kai incredibly surprised. "You're that nice?" She turned back, her voice sharp. "Who do you think I am? Let's go." The two of them went deeper into the forest together. Elsewhere, Hashimoto was in danger. She fell to the ground in pain. A very worried Narumi shouted, "Hashimoto, are you okay?" Her face was covered in wounds. She said softly, "I'm fine. Just run." Narumi walked over to her. "I can't just leave you here." Just then he looked up at the danger threatening them both. A beast was closing in on them. It raised its sharp claws. He was stunned. "Oh, crap." Suddenly a voice rang out, "Listen here, monster! Freeze!" Instantly, its arms stopped in midair. Its entire body froze. It turned out Jin had arrived just in time, using her power to dominate it. Narumi was surprised. "Kanzaki, thanks for helping us." "This is bad," she replied. "I can't hold it like this for long." Meanwhile, Kai was staring intently at the beast, thinking to himself, "Just as I thought. Kanzaki's power has different effects depending on the target. Narumi, is Hashimoto alive?" At that moment, Narumi said to him, "Araji, she's in pain, but she's still breathing. Kai immediately replied, "Then carry her on your back and get out of here. Now!" With a worried expression, Narumi said, "No, I can help." Kai immediately replied, "Are you just going to leave Hashimoto like that?" Meanwhile, Hashimoto was injured, sitting there in obvious pain. Narumi immediately hoisted her onto his back. "Sorry, I'm leaving this to the two of you." Kai then said, "Get help if you see Midu or Leonora, all right?" He thought to himself, "Let's see." He stared intently at the dominated beast. "The problem is this thing." He then cast his gaze upon it and activated appraisal. The system immediately displayed species, armored bear, type, mutant, age, 10, gender, male, attack, B, defense, A, agility, C, stamina, C, mana, F, status, agitated, dominated, controlled. Abilities, none. He looked at it and thought, its stats are so high, especially its defense. Its fur looks really tough, too. But then he looked at its leg armor. I don't think my attacks could even get through that. Suddenly, he was startled to discover something else. Special trait. A special trait? What's that? Just then, Jin yelled, "I can't hold it any longer!" The monster's domination time was up, and it began to move. Kai said, "You've bought us enough time. Let's run." Jin glanced at him. "What? All right." Suddenly, she dropped into her knees, her eyes growing vacant. "What?" Her voice was faint, her body trembling. "I'm sorry, I can't move my legs anymore." She glanced over and saw the monster slowly closing in. This is bad, Kai thought, pulling something from his pocket. He threw an object that soared through the air toward the beast. It immediately erupted in thick smoke, obscuring the creature's vision. Kai's eyes were heavy with worry. Then he swept Jin up into his arms, which made her gasp in surprise. "Ah!" He immediately signaled for her to be quiet. "It'll hear you." The two of them quickly hid behind a large log. She asked worriedly, "What was that smoke just now?" Kai replied, "Just a smoke bomb. I made it while you guys were training." Of course, that was a lie, he thought to himself. I had a few gadgets on me before I was summoned. Since I don't have many, I didn't want to use them recklessly. I guess this is what you'd call basic assassin's equipment. Suddenly, Jin said, "I'm sorry." This puzzled Kai. "Why are you apologizing?" "I'm the one who said we should go help them, but I ended up getting in the way. You don't have to apologize." "I'm ready to hear you say thank you, though." Her eyes sparkled. "Okay, thank you." He then teased her a bit. "If you were always this meek, I bet everyone would really like you." This made her yell in anger. "Huh? That's not me!" Then he ordered again. "Don't make me say it again. Be quiet. Now what do you want to do?" "I think we should run." "No. Looks like we don't have to." On the other side, the beast was still relentlessly searching for the two of them. Suddenly, it seemed to detect something. It turned out to be Midu's group. "So you're the monster that attacked Narumi and the others. Now you will face me." He immediately unleashed his skill, activating Demon Slayer Sword. Midu and the beast locked eyes. At that moment, Midu advanced with his sword, his gaze cold as he stared down the beast. He immediately charged, shouting as he ran. Meanwhile, the beast let out an equally ferocious roar. It became frantic, slinging foam from its mouth. Just as the attack came swinging in, Midu quickly dodged the blow. Then he tightened his grip on his sword. With one swing, his blade flashed brilliantly, followed by a spray of blood. He had slashed straight into one of the beast's arms. Struck by the painful blow, it roared incessantly. Midu stared at it. "So tough!" Just then, Reina rushed in to provide support. "Midu, get back! You'll get burned!" The fire attack rushed forward, causing the beast to thrash about in the flames. She smiled and said, "Let's see how you handle this." Midu praised her. "Nice one, Reina." Hit by 2 consecutive attacks, the beast let out a resounding roar. Its eyes flew open, pupils dilated and glowing red, revealing its incredibly sharp teeth. This made Reina gasp. "No way!" Midu said. "Calm down, Reina." He observed the beast. "Your attack definitely had an effect. It's moving slower than before." Then he addressed the group. "Let's calm down and kill it together, all right?" The 2 girls answered in unison, "Okay!" "Got it." After that, they each took their positions. Midu charged with his sword, Reina prepared a fire attack, and Yumi was also gathering her power. Delphus revealed a savage grin. Now it's just a matter of time. He was the former demon assassin, Delphus. Standing to the side and observing, he thought to himself, it seems the armored bear can't take them down at this point. Their rapid progress, and above all, their composure, is incredibly impressive. Then he looked towards Midu. Especially him, even though this was just a scouting mission. And it's time for a change of plans. I'll finish them right here. Meanwhile, Midu, still unaware of what was happening, unleashed his attacks on the beast. Under his slashes, it was quickly and severely wounded. Blood flowed from it endlessly. At that moment, Midu yelled, "Time to finish this!" Remember this lesson in the next world, boy, Delphus thought. Midu then stabbed straight through the creature, causing it to roar in agony. At the same time, Delphus smiled with glee. The moment you make the biggest mistake of your life, he thought, rushing toward the three celebrating heroes, is the moment you believe you've killed your enemy. But suddenly, he stopped, looking as if he had just discovered something. Just then, a small knife was pressed against his neck, startling him. He muttered, "Urk." Then a voice from behind him, "My parents trained me well, you know. The biggest mistake you made was killing your enemy." Suddenly the knife fell, its tip sticking straight into the ground. He raised his hands in surrender at Kai's threat. He lifted his lips. "I'll remember this." He thought to himself, "How did he get behind me?" Then he looked at the knife on the ground. "No matter. I have to find a way to escape fast." Suddenly, a blade sliced through him, and blood sprayed out relentlessly. He collapsed in pain. Kai pressed the knife to his neck. "Try not to scream too loud. We wouldn't want Midu and the others to notice you, would we?" Then he said, "I'm going to ask you a few things. If you answer me honestly, I'll let you go." "In your dreams! Who the hell are you, you bastard?" Kai added, "I am one who lives in the shadows. You're from another world." This terrified the man. He clenched his teeth tightly, but man, those teeth were ugly. Just then, Kai thought to himself, the presence I felt earlier was incredibly sinister. But was it really coming from this guy? He continued, "I knew we were being watched, even though you hid yourself pretty well. So I used Midu and the others as bait and waited for you to show your face. So, you knew about me from the beginning. We haven't been in this world for long, so I need information. Therefore, you must tell me everything you know about the demons." The man laughed smugly. "And you think I'll talk?" Suddenly, Kai stabbed him. The man screamed in agony. Kai stood up and walked away calmly. "Answering honestly would be easier, you know, unless you want to find out what hell is really like." The man thought in pain. "Don't underestimate me, you brat!" Saliva dripped uncontrollably from all over his mouth. Suddenly, Kai was startled by a realization. A horrifying purple substance poured from all over his mouth. His face began to react, fluid streaming from his eyes as they rolled back. Kai stood there, watching. He assessed the situation. Tch! So he was carrying poison. They had a plan for this kind of situation. "The Demon Lord's army, I guess they're more sophisticated than I thought." Suddenly, something appeared in the system. He looked up and muttered, "Shijukun." "Over here," Jin worried. Is that a dead person?" He looked up, his eyes changing color. "Kanzaki." Just then, Kai glanced at Kanzaki behind him. Kanzaki's face held a trace of fear as she looked at the dead man on the ground. Kai stared at Kanzaki. Kanzaki looked at Kai. "How long have you been watching?" Her expression was one of absolute panic. Since that person was on the ground." Then she said, "This guy, he's an assassin from the Demon Lord's army, Delphus." At that moment, Delphus lay flattened on the ground, a miserable sight. The Demon Lord's army? She remembered. That bear monster from earlier. It was this guy's pawn all along. And when Nagas and the others were attacked by the monster, it was also because of this man. Kanzaki asked, "You mean they're trying to kill us?" Kai immediately replied, "Obviously, the Demon Lord's army would try to kill the hero candidates." "You're right. I was being naive." Her face was worried. "But how did you manage to detect an assassin? None of the others noticed anything." Kai looked at Kanzaki and thought, "I guess there's no reason to hide it anymore." Then he stepped forward. "My family is in the assassination business, so I could smell that this guy did the same work I do." This shocked her into shouting, "An assassin? What are you talking about?" "Believe it or not, that's up to you. But the corpse on the ground is real." After hearing him, Kanzaki's face was filled with utter terror. Kai spoke, warning her. Kanzaki, don't tell anyone what you just saw. The class is already shaken up because of Hashimoto's condition. He remembered Hashimoto's injured form. Kanzaki clenched her fists and whispered, Okay. You're unusually kind. I didn't think you cared about our classmates. Hearing that, Kai was a little surprised. He turned and pulled up his hood. They're not like me. They've never had to fight. Then he turned back to look at Kanzaki. His eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at her. He thought, Kanzaki's dominion could be useful in the future. At that moment, they were gathered around the injured Hashimoto. A girl knelt down. It was student number 34, Hanoi Theory. She used Guardian's heel to treat Hashimoto, her hand gliding over his body. Flashes of light appeared as she muttered, Please, get well soon. Just then, Theory's soft fingers glided over Hashimoto's throat. The others were astonished, their eyes wide as they watched. Narumi approached. What do you think, Ono-chan? Will Hashimoto be okay? Theory replied softly, I think he'll recover in about an hour. Hearing that, Narumi sighed in relief. That's great. You're amazing. Suji, that thing was insanely strong. Over here, Midu replied. Yeah, but I had Rina and the others with me. On this side, Kai was just leaning against a tree, nonchalant, as if nothing had happened. He closed his eyes slightly, seemingly unconcerned with his surroundings. Suddenly, he noticed Kanzaki staring at him. What are you looking at me for? She whipped her head away. No reason. Just then, a familiar voice rang out. Well, well, students. Leonora smiled brightly. It seems you've managed to do it. Midu turned around in surprise. Leonora-san! Gaio-san! Narumi turned around, her voice somewhat sharp. Where have you two been all this time? Gaios replied, We haven't been anywhere. Our job is to observe you. This stunned the boy. What? Then why didn't you help us? The man's face was impassive. If we saved you every time, the training would have no effect whatsoever. Midu's eyes showed his displeasure. Gaios-san, he almost died. How could you? The man replied, Pushing your fate to the brink of death is a fundamental part of practical training. From now on, that is how you will fight. Don't be so quick to offer up such spineless complaints. Hearing this, the students nearby were shocked. Midu stepped closer. That's not what I'm talking about. Didn't you say this place was only supposed to have weak monsters? Just then, Leonora added, Well then, it must have been the work of a demon assassin. The students nearby were surprised. A demon assassin? Leonora smiled. The armored bear isn't supposed to live in this area. That person was likely on a reconnaissance mission to gauge the combat strength of the hero candidates. He also added, If that's the case, there's a possibility it's still hiding somewhere right now. That's right. We must strengthen our defenses. Then she said with a smile, From now on, we'll be increasing the difficulty of the training. At your current level, you'll all die. A few people nearby were surprised. Increase the difficulty? Even harder than this? Someone else also showed their discomfort. It's hard not to be scared. Shiori's eyes welled up with tears. Are we all going to be killed? Midu immediately shouted, Leonora-san, this is completely unreasonable. Everyone is already shaken after the first battle. Leonora maintained the same attitude. It may sound unreasonable, but as you are now, you'll surely die if you don't do as I say. This made Midu furious. He gritted his teeth as Arashi spoke up. First, you drag us all the way out here, and now you're ordering us around? Gaio said nothing, just quietly moved past him. I'll put it in a way you'll understand. Then he cast his gaze into the distance. You are all pawns of Leonora-sama. Don't ever think you can defy her word. This left them stunned, their mouths agape. Arashi, enraged, lunged forward. You got a death wish or something? However, he was stopped by Midu. Calm down! He furiously questioned him. How can you be so calm? Midu yelled back, Think carefully. If we don't obey them, their country will become our enemy. We don't stand a chance of winning. Hearing this, Gaios nodded. Impressive. You grasped the situation very quickly. Don't worry. You are all very important pawns. We won't do anything untoward as long as you behave yourselves. Hearing that, he smirked. Their country will become our enemy, huh? Then he raised his fist and charged forward. Then bring your country on! The man quickly realized the problem and glared at him, charging up an attack that shot forward. Die! Activate detonation! A huge explosion occurred, with a blinding light followed by thick smoke and dust. A few air bubbles emerged from the cloud of dust. He clenched his wrist. How pathetic. However, the man was completely unharmed and launched a counterattack which greatly surprised him. As the man's powerful punch rushed towards him, Arashi couldn't block in time and was sent flying. The forceful blow knocked him back, his body dragging along the ground. His face was beaten so badly it was unrecognizable. He cried out in pain. The people around were terrified, but didn't dare to speak up. Gaios said, "This is your power level right now." Then he turned and walked away. "Starting tomorrow, it will get harder and harder. Prepare yourselves." He staggered to his feet, muttering, "Arashi-san, that bastard." He gritted his teeth, his eyes following the two of them. "I'll kill him. I swear it." Time passed quickly. One day after the military drill, Teddy spoke up. "By order of Leonora-sama, I will be in charge of today's training session. Come to think of it, I heard one of you was injured yesterday. Are you all right now?" Hashimoto replied, "If you're talking about me, I'm fine now after using her healing magic, as you can see." Then she pointed forward. "And so is that idiot over there." It turned out the person she was pointing at was none other than Arashi. Teddy laughed loudly. "I see. So among you there's someone with a divine protection for healing wounds. That's wonderful to hear." Hearing this, everyone became very excited. "Now, I will explain today's training. This is my research facility. I will have you all fight against monsters here." "Today?" Midu asked. "You mean monsters inside the building?" Teddy didn't answer, just pushed up her glasses and smiled. Just then, a door opened. "It'll be faster if I just show you." Inside, a group of goblins were locked in an iron cage. "Over here is a lizardo, a lizard monster." It was chewing on the iron bars in front of it. "And over here is an ogre." The giant monster's mouth was constantly drooling, which scared some of the girls in the group. They moved deeper inside. Teddy walked on, speaking proudly. "These are all monsters raised for my research." Leonora also spoke up. "Indeed. Your research institute, Teddy, is a perfect place to use for training sessions." Teddy added, "I'm also very happy to be able to collect combat data from the monsters." They went deeper, everyone's faces on high alert. And so, the combat drill began. Kai was still watching them train from a distance, thinking to himself, "Everyone is surprisingly calm, even though they were suddenly forced to fight. I guess yesterday's experience had a big impact on them." His eyes narrowed. "Still, I suppose they're still a little scared." Over here, Rena had fallen down in pain. However, she tried to suppress it, stood up, and continued the fight. The monster over here, holding a blade, roared and stared at her. Midu shouted, "Teddy-san! This monster is too strong for her!" Teddy's expression was calm. "I don't think so. Besides, Leonora-sama told me I need to be very strict with you." Suddenly, as the mage looked again, she seemed a bit confused. "And it seems I was a little mistaken." Rena wiped the blood flowing from a cut on her face. "Hero candidates with your divine protections shouldn't be losing to a monster of that level," she muttered. "How annoying." Then she swung her hand, and a large flame appeared. The most important thing in a fight is willpower. In any case, this should have been easy for you. The only reason you feel this way. Isn't it because you're worried or hesitant? Midu, watching this, was surprised. Does that really make such a difference? Of course it does. If you increase the level of your divine protection, you can create many different variations of it. A foot slowly stepped down. "About that, Midu?" Midu whipped around.
"Shinjuku-kun, what is it?"
He had unlocked a new eye. "According to my analysis, you have a new divine protection." He instantly scanned the information on Midu. Skill, Monster Slaying Sword, Divine Protection Level 2. Divine Protection. Monster Kamikaze Attack, Level 1. Swordsmanship Skill Level 4. Divine Protection. Monster Slaying Sword, Level 2. Divine Protection. Monster Kamikaze Attack, Level 1. A new Divine Protection. At that moment, Midu spoke up. "Teddy-san, can I try it out?" "Of course. That's what this rehearsal is for." Then, he slowly walked onto the field, mumbling under his breath. Just then, the system appeared. Activating Monster Slayer Sword, initiating Silent Attack along with a Kamikaze Monster Assault. Looking at the beast on the other side, he asked, "What's wrong, are you scared?" Then, he gripped his sword and charged forward. "Sorry, but I won't go easy on you. Let's go!" In an instant, he had rushed towards it. The beast immediately raised its hand to block, letting out a scream. With just one strike from his sword, its arm was swiftly severed in two. Red blood gushed out endlessly as the beast roared in pain. On the side, Midu was extremely pleased and followed up with another sword strike. In the blink of an eye, its head fell to the ground. This left Kai, who was watching from the sidelines, a bit surprised. He thought to himself, with his current condition, he won't have any trouble with the armored bear's defense anymore. I wonder if my guess was right, and if he's created a new divine guard for himself. Looking again, he could see someone had a new divine guard. He scanned Arashi's information. Name, Arashi Suzuka. Age, 17. Gender, male. Attack, B. Defense, B. Agility, B. Stamina, C. System, Strength, T. Toughness, Normal. Skills, Divine Guard Slayer, Level 2. Divine Guard Grenade Level 1. Martial Arts Level 3. He closed his eyes. Anyway, I shouldn't just go and tell him like this. We can expand the Divine Guard's power. I guess I can't just rely on my old techniques. In this world, I have to get better too. By now, night had fallen. Everyone was sitting in a room when Narumi spoke up. Are you serious, Arashi? That's right, Arashi frowned. First, I'll kill Ganas. Then I'll tie up Leonora and make her tell me how to get back to our world. Everyone responded in unison. So that means we can leave this damn world? We also won't have to worry about being summoned here again if we kill Leonora. Arashi looked worried. Work with me, Narumi. You're sick of their attitude too, aren't you? Narumi asked fearfully, do you think you can win? We'll have a chance if you cooperate with us. Narumi gritted his teeth, thinking to himself, I know that's the way back to our old world, but killing someone, that's still a lot. Then he remembered those who had been injured. Damn it, Narumi whispered in response. All right, I'll work with you. The next day, everyone continued their training. Midu was training hard. Nearby, Kai was watching him. You're working really hard, he suddenly said. Midu stopped. Because I'm still weak. I have to get stronger. Kai's eyes narrowed. I think you could already defeat half the knights in this country. It's still not enough. I can't beat Gai-san. I need to get even stronger. Strong enough to protect everyone, no matter what happens. Kai then said, Midu, what do you think about Leonora and Gai-san? This quickly caught Midu's attention. I know they want to use us as pawns in their war, but also, I don't think they were lying when they said they wouldn't do anything to us, if we listen to them. Kai then asked, So you mean you'll bet your life on it and fight until the Demon Lord is defeated? Midu's eyes filled with determination. Yes, that's what I've decided. But I'll be the only one who has to fight. I'll become this country's hero and defeat the Demon Lord. That's why I can try to compromise and make sure everyone else lives safely. A good idea, but do you think Leonora will accept it? He raised his sword. I'll wield this sword and make sure she agrees. Just then a voice rang out. Everyone did a great job today. It was Gaios and Leonora approaching. At that moment, Teddy excitedly walked over. Leonora-sama! Teddy, you'll be responsible for the hero candidates while we're not here. He immediately replied, Yes, I won't let you down. Over on the side, Rina spoke up. When you're not here? Where are you going? Leonora smiled and replied, That's right. We'll be away for a few days. That's why we're asking Teddy to look after all of you during this time. After saying that, she turned to leave. Please excuse us. And with that, the two of them left, their figures receding into the distance. Teddy watched them go, a faint smile on his lips. The sky was unusually clear. Gios said, Do you think this is a good idea? Leonora wondered, Why do you say that? He replied, Please, don't play dumb. That kid named Arashi is plotting something. Leonora gently lifted her teacup to take a sip. Then she replied, Yes, possibly a rebellion against us. Gaios got out of the carriage and said, So what do you intend to do then? From inside the carriage, she smiled brightly. I'm curious to see what they'll do. Let's just leave them be. He narrowed his eyes. I know they're growing stronger, but they're still hero candidates. It's highly unlikely. But what if they try to rise up against us? That won't happen. Besides, they can't defeat me. Never. At that moment, in a field, a few buffalo were grazing. Suddenly, he narrowed his eyes. That's right. But don't you think we could use this as an opportunity? The tea in her cup sloshed. Yes, I'm thinking of establishing a hierarchical system. We'll crush this rebellion, break their fangs a few times, and they'll be tamed forever. I can see a few suspicious things happening. But for now, let's just leave them be. Before long, that evening arrived. Kai was now fighting a beast in the forest. He bent his knees and leaped up, his body hovering in midair as he stared down at the beast. Then he shot straight forward. He threw his small knife into the beast. Seeing no signs of life, he immediately left. And so, it took me 13 seconds to kill a monster at this level. Activating appraisal. Name, Shinjukai. Age, 17. Gender, male. Attack, B. Defense, F. Agility, B. Strength, C. System power, E. Status, normal. A skill that includes appraisal level 2, weak point detection level 1, assassination level 5, dagger technique level 5, throwing technique level 5, and disguise level 5, he thought to himself. I think I leveled up when I killed that demon assassin. The problem is, how do I use this thing? Suddenly, a noise made him whip around. It was a monster charging at him. It slammed a fist into the ground, sending dirt and rocks flying everywhere. Kei came face to face with it and muttered, "A giant monster." At that moment, it opened its mouth and lunged at him. He fanned out 3 small knives in his hand and then charged toward it. The beast was hit and staggered backward. Suddenly, he thought, it didn't pierce through? I see. I guess this is the perfect time to test my new skill. He then activated weak point detection. The beast's weak point was immediately circled. It's the area behind its neck. Then, Kai bent his knees and leaped straight onto its body. He hovered in midair, aiming for its weak point. A single knife was thrown straight down, hitting the nape of its neck. Blood sprayed out as the beast was quickly taken down. So, it shows me the weakest part of a giant monster's body. I get it. So this is weak point detection. It's not a bad skill, but it's still not enough. I need more to survive in this world. He clenched his fist. I need to get stronger. Just then, a group of goblins started to approach Kai. He immediately activated weak point detection. It turned out their weak points were their left chests and the tops of their heads. He launched an attack, and his knives plunged straight into the tops of their heads. In less than a second, they were all dead. That's right, their weak points are the brain and the heart. So this skill isn't very effective against ordinary monsters. I need a bigger test subject. Maybe I should find another monster. I need a bigger test subject. Maybe I should find another monster. Suddenly, a sound caught his attention. Human footsteps. In the distance, a figure slowly approached him. It was Kaneki, walking over with a flashlight. Shinju-kun. He whipped around. Kaneki, what are you doing here at this hour? She slowly walked closer. I came looking for you because you weren't in the dorm. I figured you might be here, so I came here and found you. He sighed. The forest is dangerous at night. You should go. However, she seemed to react sharply. That's what I should be saying to you, you know. He replied, I'm used to the dark, but you're different. Fighting monsters at night isn't the same as during the day. She shouted loudly at him, Shut up! What are you doing out here? Kai replied, I'm testing my new divine protection ability. She asked, A new divine protection? Teddy mentioned that, didn't he? He said we could get new divine protection abilities if our divine protection levels up. Hearing that, she thought for a moment. So what's your new divine protection ability? He turned and walked away. Why should I tell you? Seeing this, she got a little angry. You know I came here because I was worried about you. He chuckled lightly. Worried? You? Worried about me? She became flustered and tried to deny it. No, that's just the way I talk. Anyway, you should go back. I'm going to test my new ability for a bit. She immediately said, Then I'll go with you. Suddenly, she noticed something. She pointed ahead. Hey, what's that smoke? He asked. Smoke? Looking into the distance, a thick cloud of orange smoke was appearing. It turned out a house over there was burning down. Goblins were rampaging through the area. The demonic beasts were preparing to attack them. They roared, looking incredibly fearsome. Siri ran out in fear. Suddenly, right in front of her was that giant monster. Just then, an attack flew in. It was Midu, who had appeared just in time. He asked Siri, Are you okay? Her face was still full of fear as she quietly replied, Thank you. At that moment, the goblins slowly approached. He narrowed his eyes. Damn it! More and more of them are coming. They're walking through the fire without any hesitation. Rena ran out just then. I was just about to go to sleep. What the hell is going on with them? Midu said, There's no time to complain. Let's take care of them. The fire continued to blaze. Kai and Kaneki ran back in a panic. Is our dorm on fire? It looks like the others are fighting monsters too. Teddy said at that moment. I'm glad you two are safe. Kai replied, I was just out for a bit. What the hell happened here? I'm not sure myself. I woke up because I saw the fire and then... These monsters were everywhere. He narrowed his eyes. This is the work of a human. The ringleader must be here. Let's find and capture him. A voice rang out. A good deduction, hero candidates. At that moment, the person who stepped out surprised them. They were stunned. Teddy, I was wondering, how did these monsters get in here? But now, it all makes sense. These are all monsters from your lab, aren't they? He replied, they're my cute little lab rats. Besides, I gave them a few drugs to make them stronger since they were too weak before. Kai asked with narrowed eyes, what's your goal? What do you gain from killing the hero candidates? These are orders from my superiors. I've been commanded to eliminate the hero candidates, even if it costs me my current position. I don't have anything against you kids, but I'm going to kill you now. Kanzaki said, orders from your superiors? Wait, do you mean Leonora-san? No, of course not. I'm not talking about that old fox. He recalled the words. This is an order from the Demon Lord. Narumi shouted, you're a spy for the Demon Lord? Teddy replied, that's right, and if I complete this job successfully, I'll get a researcher position there too. Have you fallen so deep into darkness that all you care about is your monster research? He said nothing, only adjusting his glasses slightly. Then Teddy burst out laughing. My apologies, but human society could never comprehend the true nature of these mysterious things that we call monsters. Just then the fire began to blaze higher. Teddy stood above, looking incredibly excited. He provoked them. Come on! Just then the beasts started to attack them. Kai yelled, Kanzaki, I know! Then she stretched out her hand to control them. Freeze! Then she said, your opponent is that guy. He sneered from his position. It's useless. Rise, my monsters. The monsters returned to normal and began to move again. Kanzaki yelled, what? How is that possible? Teddy replied, I am a scientist after all. I know how to deal with rebellious monsters. Then he commanded them, attack! Kanzaki fell back. At that moment, Kai pulled out his familiar small knife. With a series of swift slashes, he took them down one by one, blood gushing as they collapsed to the floor. The villain laughed and said, there are plenty more where that came from. Where are they all coming from? The entire horde of monsters rushed him at once. Kai leaped into the air and then, with just the small knife in his hand, he took them down one by one. He plunged his knife into the head of a crocodile monster. Suddenly, a giant monster charged at him. He swiftly dodged its attack, landing a solid kick on it in the process. The blow sent the creature reeling in pain. Less than 2 minutes later, it fell. Kai kept his small knife raised defensively. The other beasts seemed wary of him now. Teddy yelled, what are you all doing? That guy doesn't even have a powerful guardian. Down below, Kai stood still, his hands clasped. Then his eyes shot open as he activated Appraisal. Name, Steady Archimedes. Age, 28. Gender, male. Attack, F. Defense, F. Agility, F. Stamina, F. Mana, F. Status, half demon. Magical ability, Domination, level 1. I see. So the reason Kanzaki's domination didn't work is that the monsters are under orders from someone with a more powerful spell. You're pretty sharp, aren't you? That's exactly right. Powerful demons can use domination magic to control other monsters. Teddy ground his teeth. Damn it. I didn't want to use this, but I have no other choice. He then let out a long whistle, which seemed to put Kai on edge. What are you doing? Teddy just laughed and said, you'll find out soon enough. Then I'll just have to end this before that happens. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light startled him. A massive fireball crashed down right in front of him. Kai leaped back, gritting his teeth in fury. What the hell is that? A dragon made of fire appeared. Teddy roared with laughter. This is the fire dragon! My trump card! The colossal dragon gazed down at the tiny figures below. It then dove down swiftly. Debris rained down endlessly, stunning them. Kanzaki cried out in panic, no, we'll never be able to dodge it. However, Kai quickly grabbed her and leaped out of the way. Are you okay, Shinjuku? Narumi? I'm fine. It's preparing to attack again, he said, picking up Kanzaki and starting to run. I understand. The fire dragon beat its wings and continued its assault. The other two left, leaving Kai alone to face it. Here it comes! Suddenly he spotted its weak point. His eyes lit up. I see it! He immediately launched an attack. but he was stunned to find that the dragon was completely unfazed. He clenched his fist. "It's too hard. I can't cut through it with my current attack power." As he watched the roaring dragon, he wondered, "What do I do now?"
Look at that. The perfect size to be my prey.
Arashi stood on a rooftop, staring down intently. Then he powered up and launched himself forward. Die! The direct hit sent the dragon reeling in pain. He roared with laughter. "How do you like that, you damn lizard?" But suddenly his expression turned to one of panic. The dragon blasted him with a stream of fire. His body now engulfed in flames, Arashi writhed in agony. Kai sighed. "You let your guard down. But I have to admit he is strong." Arashi got back on his feet, staring intently. "Damn it! That really hurt." Kai stepped forward, pulling something from his pocket. "Listen up, Arashi." "What?" "We have to take this thing down together." Arashi turned and snapped angrily. "I don't need your help." Kai looked helplessly at the ferocious fire dragon. "I can see its weak point, but I don't have enough attack power to break through," Arashi replied with a scornful tone. "So you want my help? I don't team up with scrubs," Kai said urgently. "It's coming!" The fire dragon charged right where the two of them stood. It flung them high into the air, then let out a massive roar and unleashed a torrent of flames. Arashi was completely stunned. "How can this be?" It blasted crimson fire right in his face, and he let out a piercing scream of agony. Arashi was utterly terrified and overwhelmed by its superior strength. Kai challenged him. "If you think you can beat it alone, then go right ahead." Arashi replied furiously. "You bastard! So where is it? The weak spot?" Arashi asked impatiently. "There's an inverted scale on its neck, see it?" Kai quickly answered. Arashi looked up in the fire dragon. Sure enough, he saw a single small scale. "That one, huh?" Kai quickly gave the orders. "I'll draw its attention. You aim your blast at that scale. Can you do it?" Arashi replied confidently, "You bet I can." Standing high upon the fortress wall, Seti urged the fire dragon on. "What are you just standing there for?" he yelled. "Kill them, fire dragon!" The fire dragon let out another furious roar. It unleashed a relentless flurry of attacks with its long claws, giving Kai and Arashi no time to react. They struggled to withstand its overwhelming power as it let out a deafening roar, as if trying to tear space itself apart. Seeing an opening, Kai quickly dashed toward the fire dragon. It glanced at him in surprise. Kai shouted to provoke it. "Over here!" He had successfully drawn the fire dragon's attention. It quickly opened its maw, about to spew fire at him, but with his natural agility, Kai managed to dodge the attack. He landed safely, then immediately called out to Arashi. "Arashi!" Arashi rushed forward. "I know!" He took perfect aim at the scale on the fire dragon's neck and slammed a powerful punch right into its weak spot. "Die, you damn lizard! Destructive Blasty, activate!" The fire dragon cried out in pain as some sort of yellow fluid dripped from its face. It began to fall from the sky. Teddy was in utter disbelief. Arashi laughed arrogantly. "Piece of cake!" "You're one to talk," Kai retorted dismissively. "Shut up!" Arashi yelled in anger. Kai looked up at Teddy with a defiant glare. "You've just lost your trump card. Are you going to continue?" Teddy was terrified, but tried to answer, "Of course! I still have plenty of monsters left." But when he took a closer look, he realized that all of his monsters had already been dealt with. They lay strewn across the ground. With blood-stained swords in hand, they coldly declared, "We've already taken care of this mob." After speaking, Midu and her teammates all turned to look at him, their fighting spirit blazing. Teddy panicked and screamed, "Oh, crap!" just as he was about to flee. But another person was already standing right behind him, blocking his path. Going somewhere? Suddenly, as he stumbled backward, he slipped. He reached out his hand, pleading for help, but he received none, and so he fell into a pool of water, flailing about. Just as he regained his composure, the sharp tip of a knife was pointed straight at his head. Kai spoke in a cold voice. "It's the middle of the night, and we've already wasted too much time on this fight, but there are a few things I want to ask you." Teddy's face went pale. He answered in terror, "Wait, I'll tell you everything, just please don't kill me." Then suddenly his face darkened. His eyes turned a horrifying shade of purple. Kai and Rena stared in shock as he slumped his head into the water, a purple toxin streaming from the corners of his eyes. Kai looked at Teddy. "He's dead." "What was that just now?" Midu wondered. "Probably some kind of curse," Kai explained calmly. "I read about something similar in documents at the library." Midu mused for a moment before continuing. So they placed a curse on him, and when he tried to reveal information, the curse killed him. I think the Demon Lord's army will continue to be a threat to us, Kai said with a hint of worry. One day after the incident with Teddy, at a tall and magnificent castle, suddenly a voice rang out. "Unbelievable!" Leonora laughed with delight. "To think something like this happened while I was away." Narumi angrily pointed right at her. "You were the one who gave Teddy that assignment? Aren't you going to apologize?" She just continued to smile cryptically. "That is correct," she said. "My apologies for the misunderstanding. Allow me to rephrase myself. I didn't think such a weak monster tamer could cause so much damage." "That is what I meant." Everyone around them was stunned, looking at her in confusion. "Wait, do you mean," Rena responded, annoyed, "you two knew he was a demon spy, and you still let him run rampant?" Leonora was still smiling brightly. "I told you all that from now on your training would become much more severe." "And what just happened was only a part of it. We almost died," Haiki snapped irritably. "He set everything on fire while we were sleeping," and Gio spoke up in Leonora's defense. "Don't be so childish. It was your fault for not being on guard during the night." The students glared at the two of them furiously. "He's right," Kai thought to himself. "We didn't realize there were monsters until it was too late. But it's still ridiculous to expect anything more from a bunch of ordinary high school students." Leonora announced seriously, "Now let's move on to the main topic. Next, you will all visit the royal capital." "What will we do there?" Midu wondered. Leonora stated gravely. "The main purpose is to unveil the hero candidates. A public parade will be held in the royal capital. You all will be on stage as the main attraction." Night began to fall. The bright full moon illuminated the entire sky. Gaio sat majestically on horseback and commanded the soldiers, "That will be all for today. Let's rest a bit until the sun comes up." "Understood," they replied in unison. In the darkness, the students sat around a fire, chatting amongst themselves when a voice suddenly spoke up. "I'd say there are about 30 of them." Arashi analyzed the situation while enjoying some meat. The people around him were surprised. 30 people? What do you mean?" He replied calmly, "The number of soldiers with us. And from what I can tell, they're nothing special," Kenta said excitedly. "Whoa! I bet you could take them all down with one punch. So what's your point?" "Don't you get it?" Arashi snapped, annoyed. "This is our chance to make a move." "That's right," Asushi replied. Kenta and Asushi took turns speaking. "There have always been a ton of soldiers around us, but now there are only 30. We outnumber them." Arashi quickly added, "It's obvious. They're underestimating us." "Good. I bet they'd never even dream we'd try to fight back." His fighting spirit was ignited. "We make our move tonight. Go get Narumi and his crew." Kai leaned against a tent, lost in thought. "He's right. There are very few soldiers with us, and they're not professionals. But that's because of Leonora and Gaius. They're confident they can handle us on their own. I need more time to figure out the reason for that confidence." Then he called out, "Midu, can we talk?" As night fell, most of the students had returned to their tents to rest. However, one group of students had ventured into the forest. They included Arashi, Kenta, Asushi, and their other teammates. Arashi asked in a low voice, "You think the ones who aren't on watch are all asleep?" "Looks like it," Narumi replied calmly. "All right then, let's get started," Arashi ordered decisively. "Arashi, wait!" Midu called out, trying to stop him. He rushed forward, bringing Reina and some other classmates with him. The two groups stared at each other tensely as Midu slowly walked toward them. "I heard you're trying to kill Leonora-san and Gaia-san." Arashi's brow furrowed as he snarled. "Which bastard told you that?" "I just happened to overhear it as I was passing by," Midu replied calmly. "Are you guys serious about this?" Rina asked, bewildered. "I know they're a pain, but this is insane." "You're the ones who are insane!" Arashi shot back, unable to hide his frustration. "How long are we supposed to let that woman treat us like a bunch of obedient dogs? I understand how you feel, but you're going too far," Midu pleaded. "We can think of another way," Arashi yelled right in his face. "All you ever do is talk. Do you even have a plan?" "I'll become Leonora-san's pawn and defeat the Demon Lord," Midu stated his plan. "In return, I'll make her guarantee everyone's safety." "And you really think she'll listen to you?" Arashi retorted. "I believe that when I become stronger, I'll have the power to negotiate," Midu replied confidently. Arashi turned his head away, saying resolutely, "Still impossible. Besides, I don't need protection from someone like you. Now get out of my way. All I want is to go back to our world." "If you're really going to do this, then we'll have to stop you," Midu's group affirmed with determination. Arashi clenched his fists, his anger reaching its breaking point. "You bastards! He lifted his leg, preparing to launch an attack on the group. "You're going to regret this!" Arashi threw a kick straight at Midu. Luckily, Midu managed to block the attack but was still knocked to the ground. He was a bit dazed. So fast. And this strength. Arashi was also surprised. "I can't believe this bastard actually blocked my kick." As Arashi and Midu were facing off, 2 guards approached. "What are you all doing here?" "Sorry, we were just discussing a few things," Midu replied. Hearing that, the 2 soldiers turned and walked away. They chatted cheerfully. "We have to get up early tomorrow. Let's get some sleep." Arashi clicked his tongue in annoyance. "What a pain in the ass." Midu turned to look at him again. Arashi ground his teeth in frustration, muttering, "I've had enough of these weaklings." The scene shifts to the holy city of Dagaris, the royal capital. The streets were bustling with people, creating an incredibly lively atmosphere. Narumi couldn't help but be surprised by the energy of the place. "So this is the royal capital." Mireille agreed. "It's so crowded here." Rina turned and replied, "But it's still not as crowded as Tokyo." "That's true," Yumi added. Gios led the procession of carriages and horses, followed by the students walking in a line. Many people on the street looked over at them curiously. "Are they?" Gios yelled out an order. Make way for Her Eminence, Archbishop Leonora, and the hero candidates!" The people around them wondered, "Hero candidates? You mean the ones chosen by God?" Then they turned to look at the group of students following behind, cheering for them excitedly. Midu suddenly raised a hand high in the air. Asushi and Kenta looked at the crowds on both sides of the road with annoyed expressions. Kai spoke up. "I guess these people are really putting a lot of faith in the hero candidates, and in the idea that we're going to save them." "It feels a little unsettling, doesn't it?" Jin said with a look of annoyance. Kai didn't reply, just quietly gazed into the distance. Finally, they arrived at the royal capital. "Welcome to the royal capital, hero candidates. Please rest and recover after your long journey." A man called the Holy Knight Venus welcomed them cheerfully. The male students excitedly ran straight to their rooms. "The beds are so soft, I'm so glad I was so sick of sleeping on the ground." Meanwhile, the female students went to enjoy a soak in the hot springs. "I feel like I've been reborn." This is amazing." Arashi and his friends were enjoying a lavish feast. "This is delicious! Tell them to bring more!" In a quiet room, Midu diligently practiced his swordsmanship alone. From a high castle tower, Kai silently watched over everything from afar. You stared at the royal capital and thought to yourself that it was time to gather some more information. Guards were stationed everywhere around the castle. After observing for a while, Kai realized the situation wasn't very promising. There were just too many guards moving around the castle like that. "It's too dangerous." His gaze swept across the area, and he happened to see something that made him stop. It was the knight who had just given us our tour. He hid behind a large tree and secretly observed Venice. Venice was standing next to 2 guards. One of them spoke up, starting a conversation. "Where have all the hero candidates gone, Sir Venice?" Venice replied, "They are probably resting in their rooms." The soldier asked, "Is it true that those kids were chosen by the Creator God?" "Well," Venice answered nonchalantly, "if they're much stronger than ordinary teenagers, then yes, it's true." The soldier continued, "Actually, I'm worried about the Demon Lord's followers. Having the hero candidates in the royal capital will definitely push them to act." The other guard added, "Yeah, there has been a lot of movement lately. I think we should be more careful." Kai, standing nearby, had heard everything they were discussing. "The Demon Lord's followers," Venice said reassuringly. "There's no need to worry. The hero candidates will protect the royal capital after all. Right?" They laughed heartily. "That's right." After that, the 3 of them went on their way. "It's time for training. Let's go." Kai was lost in thought. "Now I have even more questions. I should probably head into town." Evening came, and the scene shifted to a certain tavern. The place was so bustling that people were constantly coming and going. Nearly every seat in the tavern was taken. A long, dark-gloved hand quickly reached out, offering 1 gold coin. He ordered the old man at the counter, "A beer and your best snack." It was Kai. He pulled his hood up slightly to hide his face. The old bartender replied cheerfully, "Of course, just a moment." He faintly overheard the people around him discussing. "By the way, have you seen the hero candidates yet? They just look like a bunch of brats." Another person cut in, "Just drop it. We have to trust the Lord. You wouldn't want the church to hear you say that." Kai thought to himself, It seems the church is very powerful in this country. The people fear it even more than the king or the nobility. The old man brought Kai his beer and said, "Here you are." Kai spoke up. "Bartender, I'd like to ask you a few things. You see, I'm new to this country, so I don't know much." The old man was slightly surprised, but then he happily agreed. All right," Kai began his questioning. "I've heard a lot about the Demon Lord's followers. Who are they?" The old man scratched his head and then explained. "Them, you ask? You know this country is at war with the demon army, right? Right now, the demon lord who leads them is the most terrifying monster. It's said that even humans can be seduced by its power. Overwhelming power." Kai interjected. "And those people are the demon lord's followers?" The old man continued his explanation. "That's right. They run rampant all over the country, and just a few days ago they blew up a nobleman's mansion." Kai remarked, "What a pain." He thought to himself, "I see. They're a terrorist organization." A while later, Kai also left in a hurry. He left with many thoughts on his mind. The hero candidates have to defeat the Demon Lord, so our presence in the royal capital is bound to provoke the Demon Lord's followers. That must be why everyone looks so worried. Jin came running over, out of breath. She called out loudly, "Shinji-kun!" then ran up in front of Kai and asked urgently, "I finally found you." "Where have you been?" Kai replied, his face revealing his unease. "We're in a completely foreign place. I had to go gather information." Jin responded worriedly, "I understand, but it's still too dangerous to go alone. I can help if you really need me, you know." Kai waved his hand and said coldly, "I can take care of it myself. Just keep quiet and stay with the others." Jin angrily shouted, "What's with that attitude? You should be glad that I'm willing to help you." Kai relented. "Fine, I'll let you help me." Kai made his request. "I need information about the royal capital. Can you talk to the people in town?" Jin was overjoyed. She eagerly agreed. "Really? Well, if you're going to ask so nicely, I guess I have to." Jin was so happy she began humming cheerfully as she walked away. Kai quickly blended into the crowd and slipped away, a bewitching smile on his lips. After a night of effort, Kai had no choice but to return home. He gently opened the window, his face showing exhaustion and disappointment. Kai threw his cloak onto the bed, his mind a mess of jumbled thoughts. "In the end, I didn't get any useful information at all, but at least I know about the existence of a new enemy." The night grew late and quiet, when suddenly a loud noise echoed, startling Kai. He was curious and a little wary as he pressed himself against the door, wondering, why is it so noisy this late at night? Soon after, Kai decided to step outside. Many people were standing in the hall, their faces etched with concentration and worry. As soon as he approached the crowd, Kai quickly asked, "What's happening?" Kari turned her head and replied, "Shinji-kun, it's Kanzaki-san. She's disappeared." She then briefly recounted the events. Oni-san was the first one to notice since they share a room. Everyone's out looking for her now. We don't know where she could have gone. Kai sighed inwardly, a pang of sadness in his heart. They don't realize I was gone just a moment ago, too. Then again, I don't share a room with anyone. Out loud, Kai just nodded and reacted, that is worrisome. Mito approached with a serious expression and asked, "Do you know anything?" Kai answered honestly, "Sorry, I don't know. I was still asleep in my room just now." Mido hummed in thought and raised a hand to rub his chin. I can feel the tension in the air. Mido announced loudly, "Everyone listen up! I'm pretty sure he's not in the castle. The sun's about to rise. Let's go out and find him." Fueled by his enthusiasm, Rina voiced a slight objection, though with no ill intent. "Honestly, I think we should just leave him alone, but I guess we have to listen to Suji." Kai also contemplated the situation. It's pretty dark right now. Everyone in town must still be asleep. The night sky was lit by the gentle moonlight. Kai was scouting around, looking for his friend. His eyes scanned every nook and cranny of the street. Kai pressed his lips together, and though he was worried, he reassured himself, he must be around here somewhere. As he continued walking, he suddenly saw a card lying forlornly on the ground. Kai immediately walked over and picked it up. In that moment, he was bewildered. This is Kanzaki's student ID card. The situation became critical when a strange figure appeared from a small alley. Not just one, but 4 of them. They drew their swords simultaneously and attacked Kai. The blades sliced through the air, drawing a streak of light. Fortunately, Kai's reflexes were quick, so he was completely unharmed. But his eyes had, at some point, become razor-sharp. Kai bluntly spat harsh words at the man. You son of a bitch!
Quick as a flash, Kai grabbed one man's wrist, then used him as a weapon. He took the man's hand and plunged the knife straight into his comrade's neck. The other man screamed in terror, "Damn it!" Without another word, Kai delivered a kick that made him choke on his own blood. The man collapsed to the ground, unable to fight back. He could feel every one of his meridians stretching and throbbing inside. Witnessing Kai's decisive attack, the last member of the group began to back away in fear. He commented lightly, "Your skills are pathetic, whether you're a spy or a warrior." Then he asked, "Besides, you look like an ordinary person, so what's your purpose for coming here?" The guy froze, his mouth clamped shut, only able to utter, "Huh?" Kai's eyes widened as he stared at him, his face now exuding a cruel aura. "You're going to tell me everything." Inside a dark, gloomy dungeon with a single flickering torch, Jin was being held captive here. Her arms were tightly bound by chains connected to 2 iron poles. Her entire body was covered in scratches. Despite the harsh circumstances, Jin showed no signs of submission, even biting her lip defiantly. The guards ganged up to taunt her. "She's so scary. That one's fierce as hell." Jin couldn't hold back her anger. She showed her resolve through a scream. "My answer is still the same. I have nothing to say to you people." The men laughed mockingly. "Come on now. We're just trying to learn a little more about the hero candidates, that's all." "All right then." One of them curled his fingertips slightly, his palm aimed directly at Jin. The depravity and disgust of these men were truly unfathomable. This man, without a shred of humanity, ripped the cloth from Jin's chest. She gritted her teeth and endured it amidst the jeering laughter. "How long are you going to keep running that mouth of yours? We'll see." Too busy tormenting Jin, none of them noticed Kai's presence. He silently watched and assessed them. They're just ordinary people. Age 20, gender male, attack F, defense F, agility D, stamina F, energy F, status, aggressive, skills, none, race, human. Age 20, gender male, attack D, defense F, agility F, stamina D, energy F, status, aggressive, skills, none. But it's hard to believe Kanzaki was kidnapped by these guys. Suddenly, small knives flew out from nowhere. They embedded themselves squarely in each of their heads. The laughter stopped abruptly, and so did their lives. 2 of them fell at the same time, leaving Jin bewildered. Blood pooled on the cold, hard ground. Kai's kind and gentle voice rang out right after. "Are you okay, Jin?" Jin was too flustered to speak. "Sorry, Kai deliberately signaled for her to be quiet and whispered a reminder. "Don't make a sound. We'll talk later. We have to escape from here now." After being freed from the restraint of the heavy chains, Jin massaged her sore wrists and said to Kai, "Thank you." But just then, Kai suddenly sensed impending danger. His whole body tensed up, and a glint of alarm flashed in his eyes. Kai proactively stood in front of Jin. He furrowed his brow and stared intently into the void. From the deep darkness ahead, a faint sound emerged. A hazy smoke dissipated into the air, putting them on high alert. A figure leaped towards the 2 of them. Kai stepped forward to protect Jin from the large figure. He slammed a giant blade into the ground, cracking it. Kai had quickly scooped up Jin and moved her out of the danger zone. The blade was lifted heavily, along with a question. "So you managed to dodge that?" Venus greeted the 2 with a grand entrance and an indifferent smile. "Perhaps I really do have to kill you." "Hero candidates." Kai raised an eyebrow and asked, "A bit of information. Were you sent by the order of Knight Venus, the Holy Knight?" His expression immediately changed, his face filling with rage and inhumanity. "That's right. But perhaps you'll prefer this name. General of the Demon Lord's army." Kai calmly assessed the situation. "It seems even the capital is surrounded by the enemy. This kingdom is on the verge of ruin." Venus bared his teeth in an excited grin. "I'll end it even faster by eliminating the hero candidates." Both were wary of each other, so neither made a move. However, Venus's steps were more impatient. He kept leaning forward, waiting for an opportunity. Kai's eyes also grew more intense than usual. His eyes were bloodshot, revealing a furious emotion within. The boy carefully read his opponent's information. Name, Dennis Walter. Age, 28. Gender, male. Attack, B. Defense, B. Agility, B. Stamina, B. Energy, B. Status, normal. Skills, Swordsmanship, level 3. Fire magic, level 3. Kai thought to himself, being very cautious, reminding himself that all of his skills are at that level. It proves he's well-rounded. I shouldn't underestimate him. Venus, now impatient, frowned. Kai focused his spirit and took the initiative, rushing forward. He let out a battle cry to build his momentum. Here I go! Venus leaped into the air, sword in hand. He charged forward and swung his arm, delivering a decisive slash. Kai managed to dodge the dangerous blow. By doing so, he had unintentionally provoked Dennis's anger even more. He waved his hand and created a small magic circle in his palm. Heed my words and incinerate the target! Fireball! Fireballs appeared, turning the space into a fiery red-orange. They attacked Kai, scorching a part of his clothing, but Kai remained completely unharmed. He pursed his lips, lightly weaving past each fireball one by one, analyzing it. It's fire magic. Venus declared smugly, You're in midair, there's no escape. Kai used his old trick again, throwing a small dagger at his opponent. Venus laughed scornfully and scoffed, Useless. Incinerate! Flame sword! Seeing that everything before him and the entire space was now ablaze, Venus smugly assumed he had won. He declared, It's over. Hero candidate. How lucky. Kai was completely unharmed. He pulled out a gun and fired a shot. The bullet flew in a straight line, hitting Venus right between the eyes before his astonished gaze. In the end, that was as far as Dennis's arrogance could take him. He lay on the floor, his eyes rolled back so only the whites were visible. As for Kai, he was used to such sights and showed no emotion. He stared at the gun and clicked his tongue. Then he gently put it back into his jacket pocket and muttered, I didn't intend to use this in this situation. My ammo is limited. Only then did Kai look at the lifeless body of Dennis, lying motionless in a pool of crimson blood. But he was right. I shouldn't have jumped into the air. I have to learn how to fight enemies head-on if I want to survive in this world. Jin, whom he had told to hide behind a door, slowly peeked out when things went quiet again and asked, Was that a gun? Kai replied in a perfectly calm tone. It's standard equipment for an assassin. Jin flinched, hugging herself, and exclaimed, That's terrifying. To think someone in our class was carrying a gun this whole time. Her cheeks suddenly flushed red. She continued, flustered, But thank you. You came to save me, right? Unexpectedly, Kai replied so bluntly it felt like a punch to the gut. It was just a coincidence. Besides, couldn't you use your power of domination? She was also a little confused about that. I don't know why. But I couldn't use my magic while I was chained in those handcuffs. But it's fine now. Kai bent down, picked up a cloak, and thought to himself, So those cuffs are pretty special. He quickly draped it over Jin to cover her tattered clothes, and said to her, Well, that's good. Let's get out of here. Jin pushed aside her embarrassment and said loudly, Shinjo-kun, those people just now, they wanted to attack everyone in our class and... Kai, already walking ahead, replied without turning, I know, I heard. Someone I captured before coming here told me everything. At that moment, the assassin had screamed, begging, Please, don't kill me! Kai lightly ran his fingertips over the sharp edge of his knife. That depends on you. The man scrambled on the ground, looking up at him with pleading eyes. We were just following orders. They said the hero candidates are enemies of the Demon Lord, and that we had to kill them. He stepped forward, his hand gripping the knife's hilt tightly, and pointed the blade at the man. So did you kill Kanzaki too? The man hastily explained, That girl is still alive. We decided to keep her as a hostage to attack the other hero candidates on a deserted road at dawn. As they walked, Kai recounted this to Jin. The surprising thing is, he wasn't killed by a death curse like Teddy was. That's why I don't think this is the work of demons. Jin felt a sense of unease. She expressed, So they're fanatics. Unbelievable. I thought the people of this world were our allies. Kai sighed and reminded Jin, Don't be fooled by people like that. You got your hands chained up because you weren't careful, right? Jin retorted angrily, Shut up! They answered all of my questions. When I was trying to find out more, you know, Kai continued to press. And you don't think there was a reason for that? Demons are our enemies, but humans can be our enemies too. Jin admitted helplessly, though her tone was still a bit sharp. I regret it, okay? Happy now? It was because I was too careless. As the two of them were standing there, someone from behind called out, Shinjo-kun! Kanzaki-san! Seeing a familiar figure running towards them, Jin exclaimed, Mido! He appeared with a radiant and relieved smile. Mido came closer and sighed in relief. Thank God you're okay. She replied, a little embarrassed. Sorry for making you worry. Mido was still smiling joyfully. I'm just glad you're safe. So Shinju-kun found you? Kai suddenly got tense and brought the matter up. Mido, we need to talk. Sensing the gravity, Mido replied, Something's happened, hasn't it? The conversation began with a question about the Demon Lord's cult. Kai crossed his arms and started to relay the information he'd gathered from the previous night. That's right. It's a group that worships the Demon Lord and wants to oppose humanity, and we're their targets. Mido understood without Kai having to spell it out. So they're human. The problem is, we can't tell who our enemies are, unlike with monsters. Kai agreed wholeheartedly, adding, Yeah, I think we should tell everyone to stay on high alert. Mido agreed without objection. All right, let's report this to Leonora-san. I just hope she'll increase the defenses. But Jin had other thoughts. She closed her eyes, looking weary. If we tell her that, she'll definitely tell us to handle it ourselves. Mido gave a wry smile, but didn't argue. Right. Then he lowered his voice and laid out the immediate tasks. First, let's gather everyone and decide on a plan of action. Right now, everyone is spread out looking for Kanzaki-san. But then, a loud noise erupted nearby. Startled, Jin screamed, while Mido and Kai whipped their heads around to look. A plume of black smoke was rising from behind the house. Hurried footsteps approached where the three of them stood. Catching a glimpse of red cloaks, it seemed they were running into familiar foes. They appeared much more prepared this time. They moved as a large group with weapons at the ready. The mob surrounded the three of them, their eyes filled with menace and wicked smiles on their faces. One held a sword, another a spear, and a third gripped a dagger tightly. Each one was clearly plotting something monstrous. Mido, unsettled, surmised, This is probably exactly what they were waiting for. Kai narrowed his eyes and warned his two friends, They're here. They readied themselves for battle against these dangerous villains. The sky darkened as black clouds rolled in, casting a gloomy gray pall over everything. Jin, Mido, and Kai steeled themselves for the confrontation as the other heroes emerged. Though everyone was confused, no one ran away in fear. Among the girls, Rena was the most defiant. She wasn't scared or flustered. She just stood there with her hands on her hips, staring them down. Among them, a red-haired boy scanned the area, cracking his knuckles. Information boxes began to appear. Race, human, age, 20, gender, male, attack, D, defense, D, agility, D, stamina, F, energy, F, status, hostile, skills, none. Race, human, age, 20, gender, male, attack, D, defense, D, agility, D, stamina, F, energy, F, status, hostile, skills, none. Kai focused his gaze. There are 6 of them. Even though their stats are lower than Zenith's, fighting them is still going to be a problem. They're warriors, one of the villains roared. Attack! The others obeyed, rushing forward at once. Kai lowered his voice, calling to his teammate, Kanzaki! Not waiting for his cue, she immediately created a ring of sound waves. I know! Stop! Caught in Jin's special magic, the villains froze in place. Seizing the opportunity, Kai swiftly threw a volley of daggers. His motion created a sweeping arc, and one by one, the men met a painful end before they could even react. They barely managed a single cry before falling silent. Even Mido, his friend, was stunned by the merciless and decisive way he wiped them all out. He could only stammer, Kai! Then, regaining his composure, he pleaded, Shinju-kun, they're human, not demons. Kai replied indifferently, his tone as cold as his sharp gaze. So what? They're still our enemies? Mido tried to protest, but Kai cut him off immediately. Enough talk. There's still one left. It was the leader, the one who'd ordered the charge. He was attacking Mido from behind, who only realized it at the last horrified second. Luckily, he managed to defend himself in time, but the shock made him curse. Damn it! He didn't want to attack. Instead, he tried to reason with his opponent. Why are you doing this? We're all human, aren't we? The man's only reply was a smug smile. We do everything for our master. As he attacked and Mido defended, each tried to overpower the other. Meanwhile, Jin slowly aimed her palm toward the two of them, but Kai stepped in to stop her. Surprised, Jin whispered, Shinju-kun? He replied bluntly, Don't do anything. I want Midu to handle this. One of their swords swung, slicing through the air. The other was immediately forced back. Midu had seized the advantage with a masterful strike. His blade shattered the other man's sword, leaving nothing but the hilt. The man stared down in horror. Midu was no longer as hesitant as before. If you surrender, I will spare your life. Drop your weapon. The man didn't just refuse, he roared, You dare mock me? You damn hero candidate! Suddenly, he leaped forward, shocking Midu. A spray of red erupted as Midu's arm was wounded by the man's broken hilt. As his opponent suffered, the man laughed with excitement, while Midu gritted his teeth and endured it. Damn it! So he stopped bothering with biting and just slashed him directly, from top to bottom, and carved a long, deep gash into the man. His smug, deceitful smile was instantly cut short as Midu took his life. But suddenly, he looked on with suspicion. That guy was tough as nails. He could still chuckle mockingly. It's not over yet. Fearing Midu would hesitate out of his own compassion, Kai stepped forward and ordered, Finish him, Midu! But Midu really couldn't bring himself to do it. Can I just leave him here to die? Kai looked at him and said gently, No. You have to make sure the threat is eliminated. Midu was a bit shocked by his friend's incredibly detached attitude. How can you say that so calmly? He's a human being, just like us. Kai gently added a few more words of reminder. Midu, it's your choice. While we're standing here chatting, our whole class is under attack. Seeing Midu hesitate, Kai delivered the final push. Aren't you going to go help everyone? You're the strongest one in our class, aren't you? In a voice that was a whisper but full of weight, Kai continued, speaking right into Midu's ear. What's more important? The life of an enemy, or the lives of your classmates? In the end, Midu finally relented and followed Kai's advice. Fine. A spurt of blood shot up, showing just how decisive Midu had been this time. He turned back and said to Kai, I'm going to go save everyone. In a deserted alley, before the sun had even risen, corpses were already strewn across the ground. After a thorough sweep by the heroes, the red-haired man with the ponytail from earlier tightened his grip on one guy's neck and muttered, Looks like you're the last one. The man's face was already turning purple. Drool poured from his mouth, but his screams couldn't escape his throat. In contrast, his captor was ecstatic, baring his teeth in a wide grin, his grip tightening by the second. Die! In the end, the guy wasn't just choked to death, he was also blown to pieces. Even as he died, his body was being ripped apart, piece by piece. The flesh of his corpse was charred black, but his eyes were rolled back, showing only the whites. His friends who saw it were terrified. So ruthless, that's our Arashi-san for you. Elsewhere, another hero gracefully moved through a crowd of robed cultists. It was Rina. Her style was gentle, but her attacks never missed. She cried out, Fireball 2! 3 of them were engulfed in a sea of flames at once, their skin burning relentlessly. But after fighting for a while, Rina was growing tired. She sighed. Why are there so many of them? Rena turned and asked Yumi, What is everyone else doing? You guys can still fight, right? Take them down, one by one! But just like Midu earlier, neither Yumi nor Kari could bring themselves to do it. After all, they were human too. Rena, however, was as rational as Kai. Faced with her friend's pointless weakness, she was forced to shout to snap them out of it. Do you want to die? Just as she'd warned, an enemy kicked Kari squarely in the back, making her wince in pain. Another one attacked Yumi, causing her to scream. Rena froze, her face a mask of utter confusion as she wondered, Why? Leonora appeared amidst the chaos, a serene yet cryptic smile on her face. Well now, I wonder if I should pass you all. The scene was utter chaos. Some were wounded while others pressed their attack. No one knew when it would be over. Just then, Leonora appeared out of nowhere. Amidst the chaos, she just calmly said, Well now, I wonder if I should pass you all. Hearing that, the entire group spun around, their faces filled with shock. Then one of them lost his composure and screamed, You bitch! You're the Saintess! Leonora calmly replied, I am, and you know the hero candidates are my subordinates. Therefore, it's only natural for me to come help them when they're in danger, right? Immediately, they started to shift their focus to her. One of the men spoke up, You don't even have a night escort. And you're going to rescue them? Are you taking us for a joke? She calmly explained, In the end, you are nothing but a group of henchmen, seduced by the demon lord's power. I never even considered you enemies from the start. It was as if Leonora had struck a nerve. He lost control and screamed, "Kill her! Shut that bitch's mouth!" Immediately after, they charged. She was almost completely surrounded, but strangely, Leonora didn't seem to intend to fight back. Instead, she just smiled faintly as her lips moved, summoning her power. Bros chat. Without needing a single weapon, she could take them down. As if frozen, one of them immediately collapsed. In an instant, all those who had rushed her were on the ground. One of them fell nearby. Feeling he couldn't control his body, he said, I can't move." Another one growled, "Impossible." The students who were standing there almost all knew what was happening. Then Rina realized what it was. Kanzaki. Leonora calmly walked closer to the man. He was straining, trying to fight against it. Then she spoke. "Please, don't compare my power to something like that." Leonora unleashed her power again, sending the entire group flying into the air as she calmly stated, "My Dominion authority is superior in every single aspect." Just then, Reyna came over and asked why she had saved us, but she just smiled and replied, "I did say I'd let you all pass, didn't I?" Anyway, I would have been more satisfied if you all had handled this yourselves. Hearing this, Reyna didn't think about it any further and just said, "Is that so? I guess I should thank you then." Leonora continued, "There's no need to thank me. Protecting my subordinates is my duty." Just as she was about to leave, the man on the ground begged, "Wait." He pleaded with all his might, "Please have mercy. Don't leave us. What are you going to do to us?" Leonora didn't want to beat around the bush, so she just said, "My apologies. You're still alive?" A second later, she coldly ordered the students, "Well then, everyone, kill them all." Carrie gasped at the strangeness of it. "Huh?" Even Yumi was the same. She said her body was moving on its own. And instantly all the students were terrified by the sudden movement, unable to even hold their daggers steady. Just then, the sword in Carrie's hand flew towards the man on the ground as if someone were controlling it. She panicked. "Wait, stop!" Seeing this, he begged, "Please don't!" But how could Carrie possibly control it? No matter how much force she used, she couldn't control it. Helpless, Carrie let out a blood-curdling scream, "No!" And right after that, the sword plunged straight into his body, sending blood splattering everywhere. At that moment, Kai and Jin were witnessing everything from a nearby rooftop. Before his eyes was a scene where, although Leonora hadn't directly laid a hand on the guy, she had controlled the students to do it. He observed carefully and realized, so this is level 3 domination magic. Jin beside him agreed and continued, "It's much stronger than my domination power, isn't it? She can control multiple people at once. Its strength and range are on a completely different level." Hearing this, Kai paused and looked directly at Leonora. A thought crossed his mind. We need to find a way to counter this ability. For the time being, things came to an end. Soon it was evening, and darkness enveloped most of the scenery. The students gathered at the main building from then on. 12 hours had passed since the attack by the Demon Lord's followers. Kai stood silently, observing everyone's actions, and his gaze landed on Rina. Just then, Hashimoto walked over to where Rina was standing and asked, "So is everyone okay?" Her face still couldn't hide her shock. Rina answered honestly, "They're in a very bad state. Everyone is truly shaken." Hearing this, Hashimoto agreed, "Yeah." Narumi, who was standing nearby, said angrily, "I'll never forgive her. Controlling people and forcing them to kill, it's so cruel." Then a second later, he turned to Rina and asked, "You were being controlled too, weren't you?" "Rina, are you okay?" She then mumbled a reply, "I think I'm just unsettled. I'm sure this is much harder for the others." After that, she took all the blame on herself. "This is my fault." Even Midu showed regret, lowering his head. "I wasn't fast enough to do anything." Seeing this, the other students comforted him. "Don't say that. You saved us, Midu." The one in the red shirt agreed. "That's right, don't blame yourself." Even Jin was filled with regret. "If only we'd arrived sooner." Hearing that, Kai cut in. "It wouldn't have made a difference. None of us are strong enough to stand against Leonora." He thought, "Actually, before this, our group split in two with Midu after defeating the attackers. We did that to save as many classmates as possible, but in the end, our groups only managed to save a few of them. But we weren't in time to save Nagas and the others." He thought urgently, "The Demon Lord's cult. I'm sure this isn't the last time we'll encounter them. But seeing their General Zenith eliminated, they probably won't make a move for a while. Besides, there's something more important to focus on right now." Then he turned and called out, "Jin Kanzaki," and immediately turned to leave. Kai continued, "Can you come with me for a moment?" Jin didn't hesitate and quickly ran after him. She replied, "Okay." But suddenly, he led her into a room and locked the door. Jin felt a little embarrassed and turned to ask, "What are you planning to do?" While Jin stood there completely bewildered, Kai turned away and then answered, "To figure out a way to deal with Leonora's domination magic. I want help from someone with a similar power to hers, like you." She replied shyly, "I see. Okay then." Then Jin asked, "So do you have a plan?" He quickly replied, "Yes, I have an idea." Then he turned and said bluntly to her, "Kanzaki, first dominate me." What is happening? It was as if her brain couldn't process the information. She just stared blankly. Huh? One day after we defeated the Demon Lord's cult, the kingdom held a grand parade in the streets to celebrate the summoning of the hero candidates. Celebrations were everywhere, adding to the bustling atmosphere. This showed that after the hero candidates demonstrated their power in the fight against the cult, the Demon Lord's party was welcomed with open arms by the citizens of the royal capital. Wherever they went, people cheered from the streets. Only Arashi was very calm. He slowly observed the expressions of those around him. Amidst everyone's excitement and bustle, Kai watched with extreme caution. A suspicious thought flashed through his mind. Could this be the scene Leonora had already painted for all of us? He looked towards Leonora amidst the bustling crowd of the parade. If that's really the case, she's more dangerous than I thought, Kai mused. What a wonderful sight this is, to see them so earnestly welcoming the students who had excellently completed their assigned mission. Standing before the city gate were the soldiers under Leonora's command, her knight and bodyguard Gaius, and in front of them 15 students standing in a straight line. Facing them, Leonora smiled and said, "Looks like everyone's here." "Excellent. I want all of you to return to the Alpha Sanctuary." Hearing this, Jin repeated, "The Alpha Sanctuary?" Kai then slowly explained, "That's the name of the sanctuary we were summoned to. I think it's territory under Leonora's control." Then Midu asked Leonora curiously, "Aren't you coming with us?" Hearing this, Leonora gave a warm reply. "I have to resolve a few issues related to yesterday's incident. I will leave you all in Gaius's care." Reina spoke up. "I guess we can go back. But the dorms we used to stay in were burned down, you know." The friend standing next to her laughed and replied, "Yeah, it was hilarious." But her eyes quickly darted away. It seemed Naomi and Kari weren't doing too well. Kari was completely silent, her eyes filled with confusion, while Naomi's body was visibly in pain, trembling constantly. Seeing this, Rena walked over and asked, "Naomi, are you okay?" Naomi's heart skipped a beat. She stammered, Sorry, don't worry, I'm fine." Like a gust of wind, Leonora appeared out of nowhere, approached them, and asked with a smile, "Is something wrong?" Naomi jumped back, her legs losing their balance, unable to stand firm. Seeing this, Rena moved to support her, calling out worriedly, "Naomi?" Then she asked, "Are you all right?" It seemed as if no one was paying any attention to Leonora anymore, so she said, "If everything is fine here, I'll be on my way." But Rena's face was filled with killing intent as she yelled out, "Leonora!" Leonora, who was about to leave, stopped in her tracks. At that moment, Rena was supporting Naomi, who whispered faintly, "Stop, Rena," she continued. I'm okay, really. I'm fine." After hearing Naomi's words, she gave a satisfied smile and turned to leave. Leonora walked towards the door and said, "That's good to hear. I'll see you all next time." Then she glided past Midu, who watched her with a troubled expression. Kai was also deep in thought, but Arashi, his face was full of excitement. Immediately after, Gaius gave the order, "All right, let's go." Night fell quickly. They set up camp together and lit a fire, sitting around it for warmth. Almost everyone was engrossed in conversation when footsteps approached. A group of people was heading deep into the forest, while Kai, still sitting by the fire, had already noticed their actions. He whispered, "It looks like they're going to do it now." Jin, sitting next to him, asked, "They wouldn't do that, would they?" Kai replied, "Leonora isn't here, and right now, there are only 30 soldiers on guard. Compared to us hero candidates, they're at a huge disadvantage." The flickering flames reflected in Kai's eyes, along with his determination. Kai said coldly, "That's why. This is the best opportunity to kill Gaius under these circumstances. There's no reason for me to stop them. I'll just wait and watch the show." Deep in the woods, the weather seemed quite cold, so Gaius had put on a cloak. He was following Narumi. He asked him, "Is it really here?" Then he continued, "The monster that looks like a dragon or something?" He answered honestly and quickly walked on. "I'm telling the truth. But it seems things aren't going so smoothly today. His eyes darted around as he said, "This is strange. I'm sure I saw it somewhere around here." Hearing this, the man replied calmly, "This area is along the road to the royal capital. It would be dangerous if a real dragon lived here. I must report this immediately and assemble a hunting party." Just as he finished speaking, Narumi suddenly screamed. It turned out he had spotted something and quickly pointed in that direction. Narumi said loudly, "Do you think it's over there?" At that moment, the man picked up his pace and ran, asking, "Where?" But then, Arashi also approached and attacked Gaios from behind. Boom! It was a devastating explosion. The blast was so massive it seemed to paint the entire space red with smoke and fire. At this point, Narumi had quickly escaped using flight magic. He let out a sigh of relief. "That was close. I almost got caught in that myself." Gaios was hit by the blow and sent flying, but he was already injured. His clothes were torn to shreds, and blood from his head flowed down, soaking his shoulder. Furious, he roared, "You bastards!" Arashi immediately said, "Even my highest-level fire magic isn't enough to kill you. You're as tough as they come." The whole area seemed to shake, and yet I still couldn't take your old life. This seemed to annoy him slightly. He continued, but then he immediately leaped back, smiled, and declared, "Eliminating tough-to-kill bastards is my specialty." He planted his feet firmly on the ground using all his strength to activate Lan Mai. At this moment, his entire body was overflowing with power. Seizing the initiative, Arashi advanced and asked, "You knew we were the ones who lured you here, didn't you? So, of course, we had already set a trap for you." After hearing this, the man became furious but could do nothing. Then he clenched his fists and asked, "Do you need energy for your defense? But that attack still wounded you badly, didn't it?" Gaios taunted. "To think you'd use such a cheap trick to ambush me. I underestimated you, Arashi." Those were the old man's words. The words from the man before him seemed to excite him. "Thanks, but I only want to kill you, so I don't care about tactics or any of that." Just then, the brothers who had followed Arashi all appeared behind him. He shot to his feet, his weapon gripped tightly in his hand. "Let's go, guys," Arashi ordered, his face filled with determination. "Don't go easy on him. Make sure he's dead." But suddenly, the man reached into his coat and spoke. "I guess there's no way to stop you kids." As he finished speaking, Gaios immediately pulled something out. It was round, like a marble, and it shot straight into the sky. Everyone was startled as the object lit up. That thing in the sky. It was a signal flare. Everyone on this side was confused. Midu stared blankly. "What is that?" Even Jin was stunned by the sight. Then that beam of light rained down on the ground like a shower. Kai, standing below, looked at the firework in the sky. He said with disappointment, "Damn it, Arashi, you screwed up." A signal flare continued to shine in the sky. On the ground, soldiers quickly spotted it. One of them pointed to the sky and said to his comrade, "Is that a distress signal?" This took them by surprise, and they frantically looked around, checking to see if anyone was missing. After checking the surroundings carefully, he spoke up. "Come to think of it, I haven't seen Lord Gaius for a while." The other man quickly replied, "Could he be under attack by someone?" Without wasting any more time, the soldier ordered the other soldiers, "Let's hurry and check the source of that light." That was also the last thing he ever said. The moment he finished speaking, someone took him down on the spot. It was Kai. He did it swiftly. The others immediately went on guard. Kai then closed in on one of them and held a knife to his throat. It made the man uncomfortable, but he didn't resist. Once again, Kai raised the sharp knife and said, "It's not that I hate you or anything, but you have to die." Kai struck him down, just like the one before, then quickly turned away, seeing his comrades fall one after another. One man couldn't hold back and yelled, "You bastard!" He swung his sword straight at him, but thankfully Kai dodged it. Taking advantage of the man's lowered guard, he used his knife to send him to the afterlife. Kai's eyes were cold. He then sheathed his knife and the man collapsed. His comrade stood there, completely stunned. But the other guy didn't help his fallen comrade. Instead, he held his sword horizontally, creating a pushing force. He braced himself. That one man desperately pointed his sword at Kai, but Kai quickly slashed him. The other man cried out in pain. Kai wasn't holding just one knife anymore, but two, one in each hand. Whoever charged at him, Kai would send them on their way. A terrified soldier asked, "Why is a hero candidate doing this?" A second later, he was in front of him, the knife held close to the man's neck. Then he said, "You think you have time to ask questions?" The next second, there was only a spray of blood. Elsewhere, the others had formed a circle surrounding Gaios. Asushi charged forward with his fists, along with Kenta, who rushed in with a sword in each hand. It seemed like Gaios couldn't handle it, but he blocked Asushi's fist with one hand and used his sword to fend off Kenta with the other. But there weren't just two of them, and at that moment, Narumi summoned his power. A spear made of energy materialized. "Wind spear!" he shouted, thrusting it towards the old man. Akira thought to himself, "Empower my comrades." Then he shouted, "Power boost!" Two lights, one blue and one red, merged their strength and attacked Gaios together. His vision was excellent and his senses were incredibly sharp, so Gaios spotted it in time. He successfully dodged them. Before he could recover, Kao attacked from behind with a combined force, but once again the old man dodged it. Not only that, he even muttered, "Too slow." He then seemed a bit stunned. He saw Kao, his hand clad in iron armor, grinning smugly as he said, "It's useless." Kao had used Aegis' steel body, causing the old man's sword to crack. He quickly backed away to increase the distance and said, "This damned Aegis crap." Next, his eyes widened again, looking for the next person to counterattack. And this time it was Arashi. He drew back his arm and charged straight at him. A cyclone of fire rushed towards the man. All he could do was use his nearly broken sword to block it. He was losing strength, sliding backward. He could only manage a grunt before his sword hit the ground. His whole body was covered in blood. What's more, he had lost an arm, but he still refused to surrender. Arashi looked at this scene and remarked, "Old man, you're really tough to kill." Just then, Narumi spoke up. "I just recognized that light. It looks like a distress signal. He's trying to stall for time." But the man said, "No, that's not necessary anymore." Just then, Leonora appeared, smiling as she said, "You're cornered, aren't you, Gaius?" The whole group was surprised to see her. The soldiers from before were tied up. Midu, confused, asked, "What are you doing, Kanzaki-san?" She had used her technique to force the soldiers to tie each other up. Hearing the question, she simply replied, "I'm just following orders." Midu, bewildered, asked again, "Orders?" Rena, also curious, said, "I didn't expect that. Normally, you ignore what other people say." Just then, Kai walked over and explained, "I'm sorry, Midu. She's just following my orders." Seeing Kai, Midu called out, "Shinju-kun!" Jin then spoke up. "I caught 7 of them, although a few managed to escape." Kai answered reassuringly, "Don't worry, I've already dealt with the rest of them." Midu, even more bewildered, unconsciously blurted out, "Dealt with them?" He stepped forward and asked, "Shinju-kun, wait a minute." Kai immediately admitted, "That's right, I killed them. I didn't let any of the soldiers survive except for the ones here." Hearing that, Jin remarked, "You're as ruthless as ever, huh?" Midu then added, "And why would you do that?" Kai explained, "Because I was sure Arashi and his group were busy fighting Gaius, so I figured I'd take care of all these grunts myself." It was then that Midu realized. He lowered his head and said, "So that's why I couldn't find Arashi and his group anywhere." Then Rina turned and asked, "Is this the rebellion plan they were talking about last time? Are you serious?" Kai didn't want to explain much. He pointed forward and said, "What's the point of that question? The soldiers tied up over there have already given you your answer." Kai's actions deeply disappointed Midu. He said, "Did you really team up with Arashi, Shinju-kun? I thought you were my ally." Kai, who never liked to argue, simply denied it. "No, I just do what I want." Then Kai continued, "And more importantly, Midu, don't you think it'd be better if you went to find Arashi instead of bothering me?" That's when Midu realized it. He said, "Damn it. Looks like there's no time for small talk." Midu rushed forward, telling everyone, "Let's go! We have to stop Arashi and his group!" Leonora spoke coolly, "It seems you've lost, Gaius." Gaius, covered in blood, said in disappointment, "What a shameful sight. I could not defy my own age." Narumi, looking down from above, asked worriedly, "What do we do now, Arashi?" Arashi frowned and replied coldly, "What other choice is there after everything that's happened? You want me to tuck my tail and run?" Asushi was confused, but Kenta spoke up in fear. "She's the one controlling us, isn't she?" Leonora answered calmly, "Of course. There are also conditions that must be met. If you store up enough energy to fight back, you'll be fine." She smiled mockingly. "However, you people always rely on your divine guards and are not used to controlling your own energy. In a sense, you're just weaklings. That is why I can control all of you." Arashi sneered, "You despicable woman. I bet you couldn't win if we fought at full strength." Hearing that, the corners of her mouth twitched up. Leonora gave a faint, contemptuous laugh. What a cheap provocation. Very well, I will deal with you myself. I will break your fangs, Gaius shouted in alarm. Lady Leonora, don't tell me you're going to use your power to enslave them. That's going too far? Leonora closed her eyes slightly and smiled. Gaius, I am a saint, am I not? She turned to look at everyone. God loves me more than them. Immediately, Arashi roared and charged. Bring it on! Gaius quickly stepped back with a grunt. Leonora raised her hand and chanted. Heavenly Wood immediately shot up from the ground, launching Arashi into the air. He cried out in pain. Ugh! Before he could recover, she unleashed Heavenly Wind. Arashi took the full force of the attack. A fierce whirlwind struck him, causing him to cough up blood in midair. He tumbled as he fell. But thankfully, Narumi rushed in to catch him, shouting, Arashi! Asushi panicked, crying out, Mr. Arashi! Leonora continued her assault, casting heavenly fire. A sea of flames erupted, burning Asushi. Amidst his terrible screams, she then cast heavenly water, forming a sphere of water. The sphere enveloped Kenta, causing him to cry out in confusion. What? He suffocated, crying out in panic. I can't breathe! Somebody help me! His cries for help gradually faded. Only when Kenta fell unconscious did Leonora stop. Narumi, watching from above, was stunned and blurted out, Huh? Leonora looked up, a cold smile on her lips. Are you all finished? From a distance, a voice answered, No, not yet! Arashi yelled in fury. You think you've won? You damn witch! Just as the words left his mouth, another voice rang out. Wait! Midu was seen leading his friends, running over. He looked up and shouted to intervene. Stop fighting, Arashi! What do you gain from doing this? Arashi scowled and snapped. Midu, if you want to stop me, then use your strength. I hate your pacifist methods. Midu asked doubtfully. Do you all think the same way he does? I'm sorry, Suji, Narumi answered awkwardly, but I can't trust these people. Hearing this, Midu lowered his head, slightly disappointed. I see. Rena spoke up from behind. I agree with Narumi. She then asked seriously, If you're going to do this, wouldn't it be better to have everyone join in? Hearing that, Mairi angrily criticized Rena. You too, Rena? It's wrong to solve problems with violence. Midu stammered. Leonora narrowed her eyes in annoyance. Are you people still arguing in a situation like this? Her eyes glinted a sharp, cold gold. At this point, everyone is responsible for starting this rebellion. Do you think I'll grant forgiveness just because someone steps in to stop it now? At this, several students became panicked. Their faces showed clear anxiety. Rena glared coldly at Leonora. Midu, shocked, blurted out, Huh? Shiori, standing nearby, trembled and stammered, No way. Leonora suddenly unleashed a spell, shouting, Wind, blow them away! Narumi didn't hesitate to counter. I won't let you! He created a vortex to fight back. The two streams of wind power collided, shaking the very ground. Everyone nearby quickly backed away to avoid the raging gale. Narumi began to lose ground, crying out in a struggle. It's pushing me down! Immediately after he was thrown back, he was blown away, dragging the whole group into the chaotic wind. Screams echoed everywhere. Midu gritted his teeth, trying to keep his balance, and yelled, Damn it! Siri fell hard to the ground. The others groaned, clutching their heads. It hurts so much. A student slammed his back against a tree, groaning and holding his arm. Seeing all his classmates injured, Midu's face filled with worry. Everyone? From behind, Arashi, covered in blood, walked up and reassured him, Calm down, Midu. No one's dead. He raised his voice sternly. If you want to protect everyone, you have to change yourself first. Everyone will die if you keep going on like this. Midu gritted his teeth and drew his sword. Damn it! There's no other way! Just then, a voice rang out from behind him. Exactly, Rena said excitedly, a ball of fire condensing in her hand as she smiled. Even I can't stay calm anymore, Mireille slowly added. Even though I don't like doing this. And it seems this is our only choice. One by one, the students stepped forward to confront Leonora and Gaius. On the other side, she let out a sarcastic laugh. Allow me to show you the difference between us. Not far away, Jin looked at Kai and asked worriedly, What do we do now? He stood silently in the shadow of a tree for a long moment before speaking. Once she uses her magic to enslave them, that's when I'll make my move. Until then, we have to trust them. The two sides faced off, the air thick with tension. From behind, Gaios spoke up. "Lady Leonora." He stepped forward, sword in hand, shielding her. "I may not be strong enough, but I am still your knight." Leonora reached a hand toward him, a gentle, pale blue light spreading out. "I will heal your wounds." Healing magic enveloped Gaios. His wounds healed quickly, and his arm and forehead gradually recovered. He tightened his grip on his sword's hilt, his gaze firm as he looked at his opponents. Midu's group immediately took a defensive stance. Narumi spoke up, annoyed. "Damn it! We went through all that just to take you down." But Rena reassured him, "We're strong too. We can beat them." Leonora smiled calmly and said, "You are free to try whenever you like. For me, this battle is also a test for you all," she continued calmly. "But of course, if you cannot defeat me, you cannot become heroes." Midu suddenly charged forward, shouting, "Let's go! Everyone cover me!" He swung his sword at Gaios, but the man immediately raised his own sword to block. In that instant, Midu's sword pierced right through his opponent's blade. The sight before him filled Gaios's face with disbelief. "This sword?" Realizing this was bad, he quickly jumped back. Gaios stared at him, thinking to himself, "This kid, he can cut right through my sword with ease." Leonora then raised her hand and began chanting an ice spell, murmuring, "Change your form, become as sharp as a knife, and pierce the target." In the next second, shards of ice appeared. They rained down, shooting toward Midu. Rena reacted in time, shouting, "Flames, melt them!" The fire flared up, quickly dissolving the ice shards. Leonora's face darkened, slightly disappointed. "Is that all you can do?" As soon as she finished speaking, she launched another volley of sharp ice. Midu raised his sword to defend, but one shard still grazed his face, leaving a long cut. "Damn it!" Narumi yelled from behind. "Midu!" Mireille strained, lifting a boulder from the ground and making it fly. She yelled, "What do you think you're doing to our leader?" Narumi secretly activated his wind control power. He unleashed a powerful wind slash, coordinating with Mireille's power. The two attacked at the same time, their cold, murderous gazes fixed on Leonora. Just as the attack was about to hit, a transparent barrier suddenly enveloped her. The impact was deflected, and shattered rock fell uselessly. The powerful attack completely nullified. The two of them froze. Their eyes widened, mouths agape, unable to believe what they were seeing. Leonora smiled slowly. "I am protected and loved by God, so those divine guard skills have no effect on me." From a distance, Kai muttered from behind a tree, "Is that her holy skill?" Name, Leonora Degaris. Age, 18. Gender, female. Attack, A. Defense, D. Agility, D. Endurance, E. Energy, S. Status, normal. Skills, Summoning level 5. Holy Protection level 5. All attribute skills level 4, sub-skills level 3, he analyzed under his breath, his head lowered. Although her defense stat is relatively low, she never needed to use it in the first place. A physical attack could break through her defense. But Gaios will get in the way. On the other side, Arashi was fighting Gaios. He threw a powerful kick at the man. Gaios raised his arm to block and asked, "You choose to use kicks instead of your destructive burst? Are you tired?" Arashi scoffed. "I just don't need to use it against you." Then Arashi shouted an order. "Midu, I'll handle this old man. You take out that bitch." Midu replied decisively, "Got it!" But in his heart, he still hesitated. "Without divine guard, this sword won't be able to pierce her." He pointed his sword at Leonora, hesitating slightly. Just then, someone threw him a new sword and shouted, "Midu-san, use this!" The one who threw it was Heike. He caught it and replied, "Thanks." Leonora looked at him with great interest. "I think things are getting very interesting. Midu, are you finally ready to fight?" Midu's gaze was firm as he said, "I've learned that there are people who believe in me. And that's why I have to defeat you, Leonora-san." With those words, he charged forward. Leonora calmly threw daggers at him. He dodged them as he ran, then swung his sword, cutting each one down. "Behind him," Rena said anxiously, "if Divine Guard doesn't work, we can't help him in this fight." Narumi nodded. "And because they're too close, we can't help Arashi either." Mira said, frustrated, "This is so annoying, but we have no other choice." But to stand still and watch, we'd just be a burden if we joined the fight now. Over on the other side, Gaios continued his assault on Arashi. He swung his sword, and Arashi immediately ducked to avoid it. He quickly dropped low and threw a punch straight into his face. Immediately after, he followed up with a powerful kick towards Gaios. He gasped in astonishment. "What?" Not stopping, the man yelled, "Take this!" Then he threw another punch right at the old man, sending Gaios flying. Arashi coldly taunted, "What's wrong? Why are you so slow all of a sudden? Your wounds might be healed, but it seems you haven't recovered your strength, have you?" Gaios retorted, "And you've reached a state where you can no longer use your divine protection." The battle between Midu and Leonora continued to rage. She summoned a fireball and threw it at him. Midu dodged, but realized he could only retreat. "This is useless," he thought. "If this keeps up, she'll crush me from this distance." He gritted his teeth, telling himself, "There must be a way for me to defeat her." Leonora-san. The two stood facing each other amidst the chaotic battlefield. Leonora maintained her fake smile and said, "Just as I expected." "Midu-san, well, I am quite sure there aren't many in this country."
Shadum.
"Who could have dodged my attack like that?" Midu didn't reply. His eyes grew cold as he thought, "No matter how much I try to dodge her attacks, at this distance, this is nothing but a one-sided battle. I have to find a way to defeat her from this far, or find a way to get closer." He glanced quickly at his comrades, his eyes flashing with calculation. "Since our divine protection is useless and no one can help me, plus long-range attacks are Leonora's specialty." The aura around him exploded violently. With determined eyes, Midu thought, "I have no other choice. I just have to close in on her by force, and I have to be even faster than before." Leonora was slightly startled. She could feel the powerful aura coming from Midu. Without hesitation, Midu immediately dashed forward. Seeing him approach, she unleashed the power of wind. Raising her hand, she summoned wind spears. The whistling spears appeared and shot forward relentlessly like a storm. Midu charged like a flash of lightning, tearing through the air in an instant. Leonora quickly placed her hand on the ground. She focused all her strength and shouted, "Sink!" As he charged, Midu suddenly stopped, as if something was pulling him down hard. He was startled and horrified. His face showed utter confusion. She didn't stop, continuing to cast fire magic. A moment later, a flame erupted in her hand. Leonora launched the flame at Midu. The fire engulfed him, burning him and causing him to writhe in agony. Reina screamed in horror, "Midu!" Leonora breathed lightly, silently assessing. Up to this moment, he was trying to concentrate all the power in his body, and now he wants to use it all at once to attack me. What a terrifying kind of talent. Midu lay motionless, covered in blood. Leonora couldn't hide her triumphant look and said quietly, "However, for now, I'm still better than you." On the other side, Arashi was still facing off against Gaios. He was a bit worried now, thinking, "I can't use my punch anymore. How am I supposed to defeat him?" Gaios gave him no time, charging with his sword and shouting, "Are you hesitating? I can tell just by looking at your face, you brat!" With that, he swung his sword down. Blood splattered. Arashi couldn't dodge in time and was hit, screaming in pain. He gritted his teeth and looked at the old man furiously, thinking, "How could I end up like this?" To an old man like him? Gaios pointed his sword at Arashi's shoulder, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Well. You're still just an amateur, aren't you? This is what happens when you can't use your divine protection." Arashi's eyes gradually went vacant as memories of the past flooded back. "This isn't who I am." He clenched his fists, telling himself, "I don't need the power of the blast just to show him how strong I am." Arashi took a deep breath, then struggled to slowly get back on his feet. Gaios was stunned. "How are you still standing?" He gritted his teeth, enduring the blade pressing into his flesh, his eyes blazing with fury. Gaios exclaimed in terror, "What the—" Arashi clenched his fist and struck, landing a thunderous punch right in the old man's face. Gaios had no time to react and was sent flying like a broken kite. He crashed hard onto the ground, blood gushing out like a fountain. Arashi walked over, his eyes ice-cold, and said, "I win." "Damn it!" Elsewhere, Midu was still lying motionless on the ground, thinking, "It can't end like this." In his mind, images of his friends appeared one after another, urging him on. "It can't end like this. I have to protect everyone." A surge of power suddenly rose within him. He stood up, his eyes shining brightly as he thought, "My friends are hurting. I don't want to see them like this." Leonora raised an eyebrow, a hint of mockery in her voice, as she said, Well, how wonderful, you can still take it." Midu tightened his grip on his sword, his gaze sharp. "Let's go." Leonora laughed contemptuously in reply. "No matter how hard you try, you can't get close." Without another word, Midu shot forward like the wind. Leonora frowned, realizing he was closing in on her. Midu didn't hesitate to swing his sword. Leonora managed to dodge, but still got a cut on her arm. She cried out, "Ah!" Looking at the blood, she gritted her teeth and thought, "Did I forget to be on my guard? No, that's not it." Before she could compose herself, Midu appeared behind her. Detecting him, she immediately spun around and cast earth magic. Stone pillars shot up, blocking his path. She quickly backed away, a flicker of confusion on her face as she thought, "Something is very different." Looking at him, she froze. "It's not that I wasn't on guard. He has..." closed the distance almost instantly. Though worried, she still managed a faint, suggestive smile. "So that's the earth-shrinking skill, is it? When you receive this power you desire, it means the gods love you too." Midu, filled with killing intent, shouted, "I only wished for the power to protect everyone." With that, he lunged, his sword aimed straight at her. Leonora remained calm and cold, replying, "Even so, still not enough to touch me." Then she cast domination magic. An immense pressure crushed down, forcing Midu to his knees as he groaned, I can't move." Leonora smirked, her voice sinister. "I didn't intend to use this, but you gave me no other choice." From a distance, Kai saw the dangerous situation and said, "Her trump card is out." His expression hardened as he gave a firm order. "Right now, Kanzaki, go." Leonora calmly clasped her hands, watching Midu trapped within the magic circle she had created. A smile played on her face as her cold voice rang out, "I never thought I'd have to use enslavement magic." "Just as I thought, Midu-san." At that moment, Midu gritted his teeth, struggling on the ground. "Damn it!" From behind, Reina saw him being restrained and ran forward. "Midu!" Mirai called his name in worry. "Midu-kun!" Suddenly, Leonora spoke, commanding, "Everyone, stop!" A wave of power enveloped everyone's bodies, freezing them in place. Narumi turned, her face worried and covered in sweat. "I can't move." Leonora looked at the paralyzed group and offered her praise. "You all did very well. I'll let you pass the test." With that, Leonora turned to leave. Looking at the man sprawled on the ground, Leonora spoke. "I never thought Gaius would lose." "Oh well, even if he is a knight, he can still be replaced." Leonora smiled cheerfully. "As long as I can control the hero candidates, there won't be any problems." Everyone glared at Leonora, their eyes filled with anger. Narumi gritted her teeth. "This was a losing battle from the start, wasn't it? Damn it!" Midu's eyes widened as he thought, "If we don't have a countermeasure, and then there's nothing we can do." The people around them were all under Leonora's control. She simply stood with her hands clasped, watching. "The reason I'm allowed to summon hero candidates is because at some point I might need to easily control all of you. Otherwise, you kids would become a threat to the Empire, wouldn't you?" Suddenly, from a distance, knives came flying straight towards her. Thinking fast, Leonora summoned a wooden shield to block them. "Heavenly wood!" The knives fell to the ground, covered in mud from the dissolving wood. Leonora closed her eyes and spoke to the person in the distance. "I know you've been hiding all this time. You're the one who killed my cute little slaves, aren't you? Shinju-san?" A man radiating killing intent slowly approached. Shinju spoke, surprised. "I'm impressed. I didn't think you'd notice someone as insignificant as me." Leonora calmly replied, "From the very beginning, I found you to be very... Despite having only a useless guardian ability, you always remained calm. That's not the quality of an amateur." Shinju listened coldly to Leonora's words. "To be honest, I'm a little disappointed in you. I can't believe you'd show yourself in an unwinnable battle like this." Suddenly, Shinju's eyes turned sharp and resolute. "Whether this battle is won or lost is for me to decide." Hearing this, Leonora burst out laughing. "Well then, show me, just like the others." A brilliant light instantly enveloped Shinju. His face was filled with shock. "Can't move!" Shinju looked at the magic being cast on him, as if he'd realized something. "I see. It's enveloping me from my hands down to my feet, so this is the enslavement magic, huh?" Leonora smiled as she raised her hand to cast the spell. "Now you understand, don't you? As long as I use this type of magic, I will..." Suddenly, blood splattered everywhere. Leonora cried out in pain, clutching her shoulder where she'd been shot. "What? In the distance, smoke rose from the barrel of a gun. It was Shinju. He responded coldly, "Looks like I missed." just as expected from the Saintess. Seeing that Shinju wasn't under her control, Leonora was furious. How can you still move? I clearly used enslavement magic on you. Shinju slowly squeezed the trigger again. This time, the bullet shot directly into Leonora's stomach. She screamed in agony. Leonora stared at the gun in Shinju's hand, her curiosity piqued. What is that weapon? Leonora thought. I can't defend against it. Shinju explained nonchalantly. This is the tool that has killed the most people in my world. I only have a few bullets left, so I really don't want to use them all. Leonora summoned a flame, thinking, calm down. I don't know why my magic isn't working, but this time, Leonora shouted. Heavenly fire! Caught off guard by the approaching flame, Shinju was stunned. The blazing fire rushed towards Shinju. All he could do was cover his face. Burn my enemy to ashes! Leonora smiled triumphantly. You let your guard down, Shinju-sama. Suddenly, Leonora was startled. She realized there was no one in the flames, only his burning cloak. Then, a sound came from behind her. Shinju had ambushed Leonora from behind. He pointed the gun straight at her head. Don't move. He calmly pointed out her weakness. I just had to watch your fight with Midu. I knew you weren't suited for close-quarters combat. Your trump card, enslavement magic, doesn't work on me. Leonora glared at him, resentful. Why? My magic is supposed to be unstoppable. Shinju chuckled. I thought so too. I wonder why it didn't work on me. Then he thought to himself, honestly, it was a risky move, betting on whether it would be effective or not. In the end, I won this gamble. Shinju then recalled something. He called out a name, Kanzaki. Pointing to himself, he pleaded with an earnest expression, First, I need you to dominate me. The girl named Kanzaki looked at him in fear, backing away until she was against the door. Kanzaki's face was flushed with alarm as she shouted. Embarrassed, Kanzaki turned away, sweating profusely. That's not really my kind of thing. Confused, Shinju asked, What nonsense are you talking about? Shinju began to tell Kanzaki about the discovery he had made. Lately, I've been researching magic. I haven't found any information on enslavement magic, but I did find something important. Shinju, tell me more about that skill. The skill used first gets priority over the skill used after it. Kazaki couldn't help but panic. Could it be, if I use my domination magic on you, it will nullify the enslavement magic? Shinju calmly replied, That's a possibility. Besides, a divine guard skill is still much stronger than magic. Kazaki placed a hand on her chin, asking worriedly, Is that right? But my skill is much weaker than her enslavement magic. Shinju calmly said, Technically speaking, it's all decided by proficiency level. Shinju looked at the data he had and thought to himself, Name, Kanzaki Jin. Age, 17. Gender, female. Attack, C. Defense, D. Agility, D. Strength, E. Magic, B. Status, normal. A level 1. Divine Guard Domination Skill. Using Kanzaki's level 1 domination magic to fight against the level 3 enslavement magic of Leonora. Name, Leonora Degaris. Age, 18. Gender, female. Attack, A. Defense, D. Agility, D. Strength, E. Magic, S. Status, normal. Skills, level 5. Summoning magic, level 5 Holy Divine Guard, level 4 in all magic attributes, level 3 enslavement magic. After hearing this, Kazaki grew thoughtful. Even so, if I use my skill first, I might still lose control of my host. Shinju raised his hand to explain, No, that's highly unlikely. Shinju recalled his confrontation with Teddy. Teddy laughed loudly, saying, It's useless. Shinju spoke up. Teddy's domination magic had already surpassed yours. Teddy laughed wickedly and commanded, Wake up, my demons! Shinju continued, At that moment, I thought the demons would obey your command, but I was wrong. At that time, Kanzaki's face was terrified as she stammered, What? Why? Shinju's eyes sharpened as he answered, Simply put, his magic was used before you used your skill. Shinju pointed out how Leonora's magic could be nullified. To counter Leonora's enslavement magic, the same principle should work. Returning to the present, Shinju had a determined look on his face. It's a gamble, for sure, Shizu thought to herself. First, while under domination, how far can I move? Leonora wondered with suspicion, Don't tell me Kanzaki-sama has... Shizu pressed a gun to Leonora's head. You finally realize it, don't you? Shizu looked at her coldly. You're right. I am currently under Kanzaki's domination. Hearing this, Leonora became furious, gritting her teeth. Your tricks are so cowardly. Then she looked at her and declared, It's over. Saintess Leonora. Shizu raised her hand and pulled the trigger. Leonora was shot in the stomach and collapsed to the ground, letting out a pained cry. Leonora turned around with a pained expression, thinking about the handcuffs. My power is being blocked by these cuffs. Since when? Leonora's hands were bound by iron handcuffs. Shinju spoke up, explaining, I borrowed them from the Demon Lord's followers. Then he recalled a girl's words. No, these handcuffs are stopping me from using my powers. But I'm back to normal now. With a calm expression, Shinju's eyes showed no fear. It seems they block your skills, too. Leonora gave him a look that radiated extreme danger. What do you plan to do with me? Then Shinju waved his hand, his voice cold. Let's see. I'll let you go. If you return us to our world. Leonora shook her head, refusing. I'm sorry, but that's impossible. I can only summon you. To return to your old world requires a different skill. Shinju's face grew thoughtful. He thought, it seems she isn't lying, and her file doesn't mention any skill like that. Shinju turned his head to ask, then, why did you say we could return after defeating the Demon Lord? Leonora recalled the chaotic scene. Summoning people from another world requires an immense amount of energy. I prayed to God to help me successfully summon all of you. At this time, everyone was unsealed. They were astonished to hear Leonora's explanation. You were all summoned here by God's will, and after completing your mission, it's very likely you will return to where you belong. Shinju asked skeptically, we can return? Are you sure that's even possible? Leonora immediately retorted, yes. I have summoned many hero candidates before all of you, but not a single one could even get close to the Demon Lord. Shinju's expression was full of shock, and he frowned. I've never heard you mention them. What happened to the hero candidates before us? Everyone broke into a cold sweat. Leonora answered, most of them were killed by the Demon Lord's army. A few survived and went somewhere else, but I don't know where they're hiding. Shinju closed his eyes. He seemed to understand everything. Who wouldn't lose their motivation after hearing that? That's why you didn't say anything until now. Leonora scowled. So you all want to stay here forever? Sooner or later, the Demon Lord's army will attack, and you will all have to fight against them. Shinju's eyes grew cold. So we have no other choice. No other? Correct. Leonora seemed to seize the opportunity to be released, proposing, that's right, if you all want to win this war, you'll need the kingdom's help, won't you? I'll overlook this incident. Let me go. Shinju held a knife, about to throw it at Leonora. I see! Die! Suddenly, Midu rushed in from nowhere. He placed a hand on him to stop him. Wait, Shinju! Shinju turned to look at Midu, questioning. Why are you stopping me, Midu? I thought you had thought this through, but you're still clinging to your naive ideals. Midu's face showed his conviction. With a determined gaze, he said, I agreed to go along with this because I believed she knew how to get us back home. Now that's impossible, but I still want to keep the title of hero candidate. Shinju's face was devoid of emotion, still clutching the knife tightly. We've started a rebellion, have you forgotten? Shinju realized Midu had a point. The hand holding the knife, ready to throw it at Leonora, froze. Leonora looked pathetic. She began to plead, I admit I may have gone a bit too far. Let's just pretend this never happened. Shinju glanced at Midu's hand on his shoulder, thinking to himself, that does sound reasonable. But Midu warned, she's dangerous. Catching her a second time won't be so easy. Shinju's gaze shifted slightly toward Kaneki. All she needs to do is kill Kaneki, he thought. Most likely right after we let her go, she'll attack Kaneki, Midu pleaded. If we kill her, we'll be charged with murdering the Saintess. We just have to make her promise to treat us better. And then let her go. Mireille sided with Midu. I agree. Not all of us are fighters. Besides, if we become criminals, how are we supposed to defeat the Demon Lord? Renan averted his gaze. I agree too. Wouldn't it be better to just find a way to make sure she keeps her promise? Narumi looked slightly afraid. No, I'm with Shinju on this. We can't trust her. We've already come this far. It's better to just eliminate her. Midu immediately turned to retort, his eyes filled with determination. Honestly, I think so too. But if we kill her here, there's no turning back for us. Shinju shot a cold glance at Midu. It makes sense that Midu's worried, he thought. The safety of the entire class is what's important to him. I'm confident I can survive on my own, but I can't just make this decision recklessly. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed. A single gunshot rang out. Blood splattered everywhere. Shinju had pulled the trigger, the barrel aimed directly at Leonora's head. The bullet pierced her brain. She only had time to let out a single scream. Midu, witnessing the scene, yelled out. Leonora, her head covered in blood, collapsed to the ground, breathing her last. Everyone present was completely stunned. Enraged, Midu roared his name. Shinju! A smoke bomb went off. Standing in the thick smoke, Shinju said, See you around, Midu. Midu shielded his face from the blast of smoke. When the smoke cleared, Midu was left standing there alone. He collapsed to his knees in a rage. Damn it, why? Miri walked over to him, her fists clenched in bitterness. He killed her before we even made a decision. It's unforgivable. Rina's eyes flashed with resentment. He always just does whatever he wants. Narumi grimaced in shock. Shinju, you actually did it. Kanzaki approached Leonora's body, her eyes wide with fear. She couldn't believe what she was seeing, a sense of dread filling her. I can't believe it. He actually killed her. Everything is happening just like he said it would. She recalled the moment before they went into battle when Shinju had called out to her. Kanzaki. Kanzaki had turned to him, confused. Shinju had said, I'm going to tell you exactly what's about to happen. He glanced over at the others and continued. Our main objective is to capture Leonora and learn from her how to get back to our world, he'd said, his voice cold. If it turns out she can't help us with that, we kill her. A flicker of fear crossed Kanzaki's eyes. Right, I understand. Shinju glanced at Midu, who was fighting with all his might. His voice was certain. However, if Midu finds out there's no way for us to get back to our world, he'll still try to protect her. Shinju's gaze became ice-cold. At that moment, I will kill her and run. Hearing his plan, Kanzaki couldn't hide her disbelief. Her eyes widened. Alone? You're going to take all the blame for her murder, all by yourself? Shinju explained, That's why I let a few of their soldiers get away. They can report back that I'm the one behind all of this. If they brand me as the sole criminal, then it won't be a problem for the rest of you to return. Kanzaki asked, a hint of worry in her voice. Do you really think it'll go that smoothly? Shinju turned to her, his expression full of confidence. That's where your power comes in handy. If anything goes wrong, use your domination spell to negotiate with the kingdom. Kanzaki asked, And what about you? Shinju reassured her, I can take care of myself. Don't worry about me. Returning to the present, Kanzaki couldn't shake her worry. She looked up into the air and whispered his name. Shinju?